The president is speaking. The Congress is speaking. Money is being bandied about while refugees continue to flow into the United States. And still, what is actually getting accomplished? Where does America need to stand on the current conflict in Israel? And what to make of rockets being fired into Israel from Lebanon? And millennials perhaps had best just start surrendering to the fact they have little or no real economic future thanks to the current administration. At least, that is one take. We'll cover every take as we question everything for Friday, July 11th, 2014. We have also reached a critical juncture in what the American people are being told from their elected leaders and being told again and again and again. The ad nauseum factor should have kicked in by now, and that is the focus of telling it like it is later on this hour. Now, let's get the latest with John Bachman in this edition of Newsmax Now.
The U.S.'s relationship with Germany took a turn for the worse yesterday when Angela Merkel, Germany, booted a U.S. spy chief from Berlin. Here on Newsmax TV during America's Forum earlier today, former NSA and CIA spy chief Michael Hayden reacted to this, the latest case of espionage embarrassment for the White House.
I'm not uncomfortable with spying. I'm not apologetic about spying against Germany if that's going on, given the importance of Germany to the world and certainly to Europe. But I really am against spying badly.
Well, the former intelligence chief went on to say that America needs to be more careful when spying on allies. Hayden says spying among friends is a very delicate situation which can make administrations look bad if the intelligence gets leaked, as in this case. Now, in contrast, two longtime allies and spy buddies seem to be growing closer. Russian President Vladimir Putin was greeted by Cuba's vice president at Havana's Jose Marti airport. The Russian president is expected to meet with Fidel and Raul Castro later today. Sources say Russian plans are to forgive 90% of Cuba's Soviet-era debt, and the remaining 10% will be invested in projects within Cuba. Putin will also be traveling throughout South America. He'll stop in Brazil. The Russian president is expected to attend the final match of the 2014 World Cup. Putin says Moscow's cooperation with Latin America is a priority. Now, as we move from an old missile crisis to an emerging missile crisis in Gaza, today is day 4 of fierce fighting between Israel and Hamas. Israeli military leaders say it has now hit more than 1,000 targets. Many of those spots were rocket launching sites for the terrorist group Hamas. Militants shot some 550 rockets into Israel during the 4-day offensive. Meantime, President Obama finally reached out and spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. The president condemned the firing of rockets into Israel and affirmed Israel's right to defend itself. However, the president says he wants the fighting to end and offered to broker a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. According to the latest report in the Jerusalem Post, Prime Minister Netanyahu is ruling out a ceasefire and vows to expand Operation Protective Edge. I'm John Bachman. We're back with more news here in 30 minutes.
This isn't theater. This is a problem. I'm not interested in photo ops. I'm interested in solving a problem. Those who say I should visit the border, when you ask them what should we be doing, they're giving us suggestions that are embodied in legislation that I've already sent to Congress. So it's not as if they're making suggestions that we're not listening to. In fact, the suggestions of those who work at the border, who visited the border, are incorporated in legislation that we're already prepared to sign the minute it hits my desk. There's a very simple question here, and that is Congress just needs to pass the supplemental.
Two things we can take with certainty from the president's public agenda this week. His jokes and snappy retorts aimed at Republicans need a lot of work, and the legend of Minnesota Fats has absolutely nothing to worry about from what he did in Denver. Other than that, we really don't have much solid to take away from more immigration dueling and little or nothing actually getting done inside the Beltway. We have that and so much more to talk about as veteran political commentator Dick Morris joins MidPoint right here in the studio. Dick, it's a pleasure to see you.
Good to be here.
What is the man's end game is what people are trying to ask here, because with absolutely no action whatsoever, you can't tread water forever. Or, wait a minute, I could be foolish here. Maybe you can in politics.
Well, you're asking the wrong question. It's not what is his end game, it's what is his goal. If you assume that his goal is popularity, he doesn't have one. His goal is to get these kids in the United States and let them stay here. His goal is to fudge the border between refugees fleeing a war and kids coming in immigration. His goal is to make those who live here illegally look like citizens, act like citizens, have IDs like citizens, drive like citizens, and eventually vote like citizens. And his reason is that he wants to create a one-party country in the United States by taking 11 or 12 million Latinos, immigrants, gluing them to the Democratic Party, and in sending the message to Central America and Mexico, come on in, we'll never throw you out.
Where did this idea, now wait a minute, this is going to go back history here, because we're talking about socialism, we're talking about a complete change of the American system as we know it right now. Where did this begin, if indeed this is what he's trying to do? Is this something Barack Obama has always thought about doing?
Yeah,
did it come from others around him?
The day he promised to, quote, fundamentally transform America, 5 days before he took the oath of office the first time. Eileen and I, my wife and I, have a book coming out in September called Power Grab, Obama's Plan to Create a One-Party Country in the United States. His vision is just like the Peronists ruled Argentina and the PRI ruled Mexico and the Kuomintang ruled China, to create a one-party democracy and give the Democratic Party a permanent edge. And he doesn't care much about popularity. What he cares about is demographics.
Now let's talk about those who will fight him on this, and of course we are talking about the Republicans now and those who disagree with him. I want everybody to hear a soundbite here. This is the president on immigration and specifically aiming his comments at the Republicans. Okay, we don't have that, but it should be, if we had it, it would say the House Republicans, they haven't even called the bill, they won't even take a vote on the bill, they don't have enough energy or organization, or I don't know what to just even vote no on the bill, and then they're mad at me for trying to do some things to make the immigration system work better so it doesn't make sense. Okay, Dick, we know who the people are who are fighting him then. How successful are they to this point, and where do they need to take it from right here today in order to fight what he's doing?
Well, I think that obviously the Republicans don't want to pass the bill and don't want to take any action because it'll go to the conference committee and you'll have a, quote, compromise. Obama is trying to ignore the fact that the immigration debate has fundamentally changed, because the question that hung over everybody's head, which was, would amnesty trigger additional migration? Democrats said no, we'll strengthen the border. Republicans said yeah. Republicans have been proven right, and the whole country sees that they're proven right. And therefore, immigration, as I think, now tied with Obamacare as the leading issue against the president, because it is very clear to everybody that all his solution will do is add to the problem.
Isn't it not also clear to people, if you look into this $3.7, $3.8 billion that he has requested, that the money that is in there, a lot of it is for relocation, and it is for a permanent stay for many of these people who are here?
Let me give you just some simple math. Half of it is for housing. A quarter of it is for overtime pay and stuff like that. 45 million of it is for expanding efforts in immigration court. And he features 40 new immigration judges. If they're paid $100,000 each, that's $4 million. Where's the other 41? Defense counsel, lawyers to keep the kids in the United States. But there's another long-term game here. Working with the United Nations, Obama hopes to translate immigration into refugees. Refugees usually are fleeing a war zone. He's going to try and pretend Guatemala, and El Salvador, and Honduras are a war zone because of the drug violence. And what we see as illegal immigrants, he'll see as asylum seekers. And that puts it in the international courts, because the right of refugees is enshrined in the UN Charter. And international law will take that issue away from the United States and let it be decided by the UN if he can succeed in having these kids seen as refugees, not as illegal immigrants. That's his game.
Does his video seen the other day in Denver playing pool with Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, does that come up then as one of those seminal moments in a president's final years where really people can point to that in generations and say, this is what your president was really concerned about at a time of crisis?
Well, he has a choice. Would you rather be seen playing pool in Denver or a 15-day vacation in Martha's Vineyard? at a cost of $12 million to the taxpayer that he's planning to take. Pool's pretty cheap. That was beer, not champagne.
And it was beer. Not only that, but John Hickenlooper owns the bar, too.
Right.
So
Okay.
it makes it even easier at this point. There was an interesting article that I caught recently talking about a year of action for Obama or a year of spin. And I think what's happened, and it's not just this one article, a 42-page document from the White House that said an update on what President Obama has done this year to ensure opportunity for all Americans. I don't know if you've had a chance to see all 42 pages of this, but it is rife with nothing more than spin. Well, but then again, what would we expect from a president anyway?
But it also shows what this guy's paying attention to. Healthcare is falling apart. The border is totally open. 100,000 kids are flooding into the United States. And what does he do? He issues an executive order forbidding contractors from discriminating against transgender employees.
Are we catching? Is America, though, catching up to this, Dick?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that Obama has now fallen again to his low point, 40, and I think he's headed south. I think that the Denver pool hall shot was sort of a way of saying, I don't give a damn.
Do you see others like Udall in Colorado trying to distance themselves as quickly as possible and just
Well, nobody
run?
showed up.
Of course, he didn't show up for the first event, for the public event. Showed up later, of course, for a private event. But it does seem as if we're now at that point where, and even the White House now is scolding Democrats who are taking the president to charge here.
One thing I'd like to talk about just in the few minutes we have left, if I can.
Please.
Elizabeth Warren can beat Hillary Clinton.
You think that's a real possibility that she will get involved?
I think she'll run. I think she may run, and if she runs, I'm not saying she will, but I'm saying she can beat Hillary Clinton. She's a woman just like Hillary, and she can raise Hillary's income sources against her, the Goldman Sachs, the crony capitalism, and all of that stuff, because that's Warren's issue. And I challenge anybody to tell me one thing that Hillary can say against Elizabeth Warren where she's better, other than the concept that I can win and you can't. And the question of I can win and you can't can go away very quickly. And Hillary is making the same mistake she made in 2008. 2008, she forgot about the primary. She said, I have this nomination sewed up, and she ran for the general election. That's why she voted for the Iraq War, she voted for the Patriot Act, and the whole bit. Then Obama comes along, flanks her to the left, and she's taken by surprise. That's just what's happening now. She's saying, I was tough on Syria. I believe these children ought to be sent home. Obama's spending too much time with beautiful vision, not enough with practical work in the Congress. She's assuming she has this nomination. And Elizabeth Warren, fueled with Obama's money and Obama's organization, which Ed Klein in his great new book says may be happening, I think that she could beat Hillary. I think history could repeat itself.
Finally, I do want to ask you about what's happening in Israel right now, about the minute and a half that we have left. Where should America be standing at this point? Because there are people worried, and even people who want America to get involved and try and stop what's going on there.
Well, let's remember that the Gaza Strip was originally Israel's after the '67 war, and Sharon gave it back to the Palestinians, who no sooner got it than they put up rocket launchers and used it as a base to attack Israel. Ultimately, I believe Netanyahu should not be reined in by a ceasefire. I think he should go into Gaza and clean the place up. And I'm not even sure it should not remain under Israeli occupation. The Arabs and the Palestinians have used Gaza as nothing more than a launching pad for rocket strikes, invasions, terrorists, and suicide bombers. And they're using U.S. money and UN money to do it. And I think that Netanyahu wants a confrontation with Hezbollah, a confrontation with Hamas, to get rid of them. And unlike the previous times when Israel held back its military might, now I think he's just going to let go.
15 seconds. Do you think that America will do something under the table to help Israel? Anything more than what they've been doing?
No, I think we'll do things under the table to hurt Israel. And Obama will demand a ceasefire and maybe vote against Israel in the UN. But I don't think Netanyahu is going to pay the slightest bit of attention.
I don't think he's paying a lot of attention now.
Bibi was a client of mine years ago.
I did not know that. See, but now we know all these things. Dick, it's always a pleasure to see you. Please, come on back down again. Come on to the studios again. All right, coming up next, from dueling verbiage in Washington to a president shooting pool in the Rocky Mountains, we've talked about all that. Now we need to move to that other big issue we're talking about, and that is immigration. What is happening at the border and what the people on the ground are seeing as well. That and a whole lot more coming up right here as MidPoint continues, where we question everything.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stair Lifts has a solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stair Lift, the world's leader in stair lifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stair Lifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stair Lift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs again.
And our Acorn Stair Lift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stair Lift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stair Lift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stair Lift if there's something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
And I'm the king of my own castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stair lifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stair lift directly to the staircase, in most cases in 2 hours or less, with no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stair Lift.
Don't risk a serious fall down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little they cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stair Lifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with an Acorn Stair Lift.
Call 1-800-514-1402 for your free information kit. That number again is 1-800-514-1402. Or visit our website today.
Call now.
Now on Newsmax TV, Chris Christie is making a big comeback. And now some think he could still run and win in 2016. Watch the Steve Malsberg Show today. Go now to Newsmax TV.
Sue him. Impeach him. Really? Really? For what? You're going to sue me for doing my job? Okay. I mean, think about that. You're going to use taxpayer money to sue me for doing my job while you don't do your job.
The train bringing refugees through Mexico to the United States breaks down due to overuse and the sheer number of people hanging onto its side seeking a ride to what they believe is freedom. The federal government cash fund for this crisis is running out of money faster than a Kardashian bank account. And now we have armed militias gathering to protect the border in what could turn dangerous at any second. Brace yourself and buckle up. Welcome back to MidPoint, everybody. Currently, let's also welcome a fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies, a former member of the Immigration and Naturalization Service, and former official with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Dan Cadman joins us today. Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Dan, there is a couple of things here that are rather alarming. And first of all, I want to get down to what we are hearing and what we're going to talk about later on in the show. Armed militias are now taking up positions around the border at certain places right now. They claim they are there to help law enforcement. Dan, I got to tell you, it's scary because all I can think of is armed individuals, people there, emotions running high. This could be a recipe for real disaster.
I think you've just stolen the phrase that I would have used myself. It is a recipe for disaster. And one of the ways that the federal government can ensure that that doesn't happen is to be sure that they saturate the border areas with an adequate number of Border Patrol agents, ICE agents, deportation officers, and if need be, perhaps it is time to ask National Guardsmen to play an assistive role in the border, as they have in the past in Texas, Arizona, and elsewhere.
Let me then follow up with what they can do now, because you have officials there, you have law enforcement there. What is it that they need to be doing right now in order to bring this under some simple control? Because the people are going to show up no matter what you do.
Well, I'm not sure there are enough Border Patrol agents there right now, or even assigned agents from ICE. A lot of them have gotten wrapped up in the transportation of these individuals on buses, charter aircraft, et cetera, to disperse them throughout the United States. And each of the officers that's involved in that kind of transportation is an officer that's not available to actually be there pursuing his or her main duty of patrolling the border and safeguarding the sovereignty of the United States. So there is a problem there, and the National Guard seems to me one way that they could ameliorate the amount of time and effort that they're spending right now on transportation. Although, frankly, I'm not a big fan of the dispersal of the individuals throughout the United States.
Let's talk a little bit about money here, and I think you touched on that very briefly here, because this is something which I think people are going to be rather interested in, and this had to happen sooner or later. The Homeland Security Agency, responsible for removing immigrants who are in the country illegally, will run out of money by mid-August unless Congress approves the president's request for $3.7 billion. Also, Customs and Border Protection will run out of money by mid-September at what is being called the current burn rate. There are people I've talked to in immigration who say they're surprised it's lasted this long because of the tremendous amount of money they're spending here. Is it not fair to say that this is a group of people that are simply stretched so far that there's very little they can do in actually protecting the border at this time?
They are, and it's a sad irony that one of the things that's happening here that's helping them with some of the effectiveness is that a lot of the people who are being apprehended because they're turning themselves in. That is astounding to me. That is so unusual in the annals of patrolling our borders that it tells you something about the mindset of the individuals who are showing up now. It suggests that they have absolutely no fear whatsoever of removal from the United States.
When it comes to the money that is being spent here, and Dick Morris was just here with us a few moments ago and we talked about this, in this $3.7 billion, there is a tremendous amount of money in there that is earmarked for housing, for lawyers. It would seem to many people, if they look at it, that it is indeed not exactly to return people to other countries, but to keep them here, to make sure that they can find a way to stay here in America. That has got to be very disappointing and distressing to a lot of people who have always fought the battle, if you will, to try and keep the United States safe at the border.
Well, it is disturbing, and it certainly, at least in my opinion, puts the lie to the notion that the border is safer and more secure than ever, which is the line that has been used by the administration and particularly by former DHS Secretary Napolitano. That's clearly not the case. But I would also say that I have a major problem with the idea that the administration is sending out messages to a lot of people who are at risk, who may be juveniles, that it's worth taking that chance of putting themselves into the hands of coyotes, of smugglers who don't really care about them, and not only in the hands of people who are fundamentally amoral or immoral, but also going through some serious badlands of the border areas where they may simply die of thirst, of heat, any number of things. I think the way the administration is doing this is, in its own way, a cruelty.
Other than simply just, and it can't happen right now, but other than simply just shutting down the border so no one could come across at this point, you've been here, you've been on the ground before, you have seen these things at different levels before. What would be the simple best thing to do at this point to at least start to create some sort of security there, to at least start to bring this under control?
Well, there was a leaked ICE document that got put out on the web that says that 47% of the people coming through are adults. Those people are subject to expedited removal, and so are the children who accompany them. It's only unaccompanied children that are subject to specific rules. So if the government is serious about sending the message back to the other people who are contemplating the journey, then the government should take effective and expeditious action to remove that 47% of adults plus whatever portion of the children are attached to those adults and get them back. That isn't being done.
What would that be? What would that entail right away? Could you detail that? I mean, as far as where do we go?
It seems to me that it could be done quite simply by doing it the way it's always been done at the border in the last decade or two, and that is if someone is apprehended crossing the border, they're given an opportunity to make a claim to a credible fear for asylum, and if they can't make it, they are ordered removed from the United States. There is no protracted hearing in front of the immigration courts. And they are put on the next plane, train, or bus back to the country from which they emanated. And if that isn't done, then there is no public service announcement that's going to ever be effective enough to tell the others back in the home country, don't try this.
I've got about 90 seconds left here, and I'm sure that you still talk to a lot of your colleagues and a lot of people who work in the Border Patrol, work in ICE. Can you share with us then a couple of things and what you are hearing from them and the basic opinions that they have about the current administration and about the lack of what is being done at the border?
They're deeply frustrated. There is also a certain amount of fear because they have been told repeatedly and without any kind of doubt that if they speak publicly, they run the risk of discipline, of removal. They don't necessarily believe that the administration has enforcement of the immigration laws close to its bosom, and they're deeply concerned about the direction of the country. And I think that's unfortunate in the extreme, that the people charged with enforcing the law have lost confidence in their leaders.
Do you know of anybody who has been fired or anybody who has been reprimanded at this point in INS and the Border Patrol by the government?
No, because most of them have kept their mouths shut, except those who exercise privileges as union officers.
If they were to get out there very quickly, you think the government would fire them in no time?
Absolutely, I do.
All right. Dick, I want to thank you very much, or Dan, I'm sorry, I want to thank you very much for taking a couple of minutes to be with us here, because some of the stories that we're hearing are just sometimes they are unbelievable, and we have to try to put some honesty and some fact to what is happening here, with as many as 90,000 unaccompanied minors could be apprehended before the year is out. Dan Cadman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.
It is a story that we will continue to cover. It is still a story that is moving, and let me bring that to you right here, because now, according to the Obama administration and others who are looking at this, as many as 90,000 unaccompanied minors could be caught before the end of this fiscal year, September 30th. That is more than a threefold increase over 2013. Take a breath. All right, so you're a millennial and you want a job? Please excuse the dark laughter emanating from economists everywhere. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more when MidPoint questions everything right here on the Newsmax TV network.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh yes, and that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
Meet Jill. She thought she'd feel better after seeing her doctor, and she might have if not for Kari, the identity thief who stole Jill's social security number to open credit cards, destroying Jill's credit and her dream of retirement. Every year, millions of Americans just like you learn that a little personal information in the wrong hands could wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Jill had LifeLock's protection, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect the threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. And LifeLock offers the proactive protection of checking and savings account takeover alerts. LifeLock's comprehensive identity theft protection guards your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
Doesn't matter how old you are or how much money you have. Identity thieves steal from everyone. You have to protect yourself. I protect myself with LifeLock.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one protects you better than LifeLock. And LifeLock stands behind their protection with the power of their $1 million service guarantee. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and try 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. 60 days risk-free. Use promo code ONGUARD. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free.
Call 1-800-966-8458 or go to lifelock.com/onguard to try 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Call 1-800-966-8458 right now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. The case involving a high-price escort who is now accused of murdering a Google executive by giving him a fatal dose of heroin is expanding. The day after the 26-year-old girl appeared in court to face a series of charges in the death of the 51-year-old executive aboard a yacht, investigators are raising new questions. Could she be linked to another death? Police say they're re-examining the death of owner of a popular Atlanta music venue that she had been dating. Tichelman was never charged in the September 2013 death of her boyfriend, a 53-year-old owner of a popular Atlanta nightclub and music venue. But police said Thursday that they would re-examine the former boyfriend's death. Investigators say the escort had done online searches for how to defend herself legally after administering a lethal dose of heroin. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
I'm here today because of every American who is working their tail off and does everything right and who believes in the American dream and just wants a chance to build a decent life for themselves and their families.
Great news for all those millennials out there who can't wait to get a job and start cranking out fat paychecks as promised. You will be able to still accomplish that someday. Maybe. Perhaps, if you get lucky. Okay, you get the idea here, right? Welcome to MidPoint, a member of that millennial generation who personifies what they are about to face. A law student at the University of Virginia and law clerk at a libertarian law firm, Inez Felcher joins us today in MidPoint. Inez, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Inez, who did you vote for in the last election? Curious.
I voted for Romney, and the time before that, I voted for McCain, even though I wasn't thrilled with either of those two candidates from the Republicans. But Obama's policies have really, really hurt everybody, basically everybody in our generation. We're basically expected to foot the bill for the policies that he likes.
But according to the president and according to some, you, the millennials, have a greater chance to make more money than any other generation right now. So don't worry if you get hit with a couple of bucks here at the front or you can't quite make it. In the end, you will still be okay. You're not buying this one, are you?
Not at all. Basically, there are three things that are really affecting the economic outlook of my generation. The first is high unemployment. Millennials have higher unemployment than most other groups in the country. And we're the first jobs to get cut when businesses have to cut back in this high regulatory, low growth environment. Second of all, we're dealing with higher student loans than anybody in the past. There's more student loan debt out there right now than all of the credit card debt of all of Americans. So we have that burden, but we're not getting the benefit of high-paying jobs coming out of college. And finally, we're expected to foot the bill for a lot of the Obama programs. We pay more, for example, for Obamacare so that older people can pay less. So those three major problems are really preventing us from getting our foot, sort of out the door and starting in our careers.
Okay, now you obviously voted, you said you voted Republican the last 2 elections. We're told that most of the millennials, however, voted Democrat the last couple of elections, voted for Barack Obama. And there seems to be a lot of confusion as to whether or not those who did vote for him are really that upset at him at this point, or if they really think that he lied to them. What are you getting from your friends, the people in your age group, your coworkers?
First of all, I think that even though millennials voted Democrat, I think that their political views are a little more nuanced than your typical poll we'll get into. There was a recent Reason poll that found that, for example, 73% of millennials support a private option for Social Security, right? Something like that shows that I think people in my generation do understand, or at least are now starting to understand, given the bills that we're getting, how important sort of free market capitalism really is, and how much we're going to end up paying for the programs that sounded really great in 2008. Everybody wants free healthcare, quote unquote. Free, everybody wants a good job. But now that we're getting the bills on the other end, I really think sort of the glitter has worn off of the Obama campaign.
I got about 30 seconds left here. Do the millennials trust either side at this point to do right by them?
I think they would trust the Republicans a lot more than they currently trust them. I think they lost trust with the Democrats, and I think they would trust the Republicans more if Republicans were more focused on, for example, I think they perceive Republicans as being for special interests, and I think if Republicans were to show that they don't cater to special interests, that they're actually against things like crony capitalism, I think that would go a long way towards bolstering millennial skepticism of the Republican Party.
Inez, congratulations on at least having a job at this point. I guess that's probably a big thing here for somebody of your generation to have. We appreciate your rather frank comments here and wish you a tremendous amount of luck down the road.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, the millennials are all worried about where their next paycheck is coming from. Don't worry where the next American moment is coming from here on the Newsmax TV network, because it's right here on MidPoint.
Her name is synonymous with the struggle for equal rights throughout America. But when Rosa Parks stepped on that Montgomery, Alabama bus on December 1st, 1955, she didn't set out to make history. She just wanted to get home. Montgomery's segregated buses had divided seating, white passengers in front, colored passengers in the back. Contrary to popular belief, Rosa was sitting in the back of the bus. But when the bus driver needed more seats for his white passengers, he ordered her and 3 others to vacate their seats. The others complied and moved, but Rosa quietly refused and was quickly arrested. Working alongside Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa's arrest sparked a highly effective citywide protest with African Americans boycotting city buses.
December 5th was the day that people stayed off in large numbers and did not ride the bus. In fact, most of the buses, I think all of them were just about empty.
Rosa's protest and resulting boycott didn't end segregation, but it sparked a movement that ended the racial system, paving the way for a more equal society. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
Those struggling with their weight know that it goes beyond willpower.
I wish I wasn't still hungry.
Is this enough?
It's late, and I'm still hungry.
Weight loss is not just about willpower. While we have different triggers, we face similar challenges.
Am I full?
Do I want more?
Have I had enough?
Maybe it's time to try Belviq. Belviq is FDA approved for weight loss in adults who are overweight with at least one weight-related medical condition or obese. When used with diet and exercise, Belviq can help you lose weight and keep it off. Belviq works by activating receptors in your brain that are believed to cause you to feel full. For some people, this means that they can eat less.
I've had enough.
Being overweight can carry health risks like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or type 2 diabetes. If you are overweight with any of these conditions or obese, Belviq may help you lose weight and keep it off. Do not take Belviq if you're pregnant, planning to be, or nursing. Before taking Belviq, tell your doctor if you take medicines for depression, migraines, mental problems, or a cold, as these medicines with Belviq may cause serious or life-threatening side effects. Call your doctor if you have confusion, sweating, fever, or stiff muscles. Some people taking medicines like Belviq have had heart valve problems. Call your doctor if you have trouble breathing, swelling, dizziness, fatigue, or a regular heartbeat. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery until you know how Belviq affects you. High doses may cause mental problems. Talk to your doctor if you become depressed or have thoughts of suicide. In patients with type 2 diabetes, weight loss may cause low blood sugar. Stop taking Belviq and tell your doctor if you have prolonged erections or your breasts begin to make milk or increase in size. Belviq may decrease blood cell count. Common side effects include headache, dizziness, fatigue, nausea, dry mouth, constipation, back pain, and cough. Belviq may help you lose weight and keep it off. Talk to your doctor about Belviq. To get your 15-day free trial offer, call 800-798-5943 or visit startbelviqnow.com today.
We, the people of the United States,
in order to form a more perfect union,
establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility,
provide for the common defense,
promote the general welfare,
and secure the blessings of liberty
to ourselves and our posterity.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution
for the United States of America.
No country should have to live under the constant threat of indiscriminate violence against innocent civilians. That's what we're looking at here. I think it's important context here that Hamas is a terrorist organization. They have been launching indiscriminate number of attacks against Israel. The Secretary spoke with President Abbas this morning. I know I mentioned to all of you that he had planned to do that. He, as you know, had already spoken with Prime Minister Netanyahu just yesterday. During both of those calls, the Secretary reiterated our concern over the escalating tensions and restated his own willingness and the willingness of the United States to engage robustly in helping to stop the rocket fire.
The Gaza Strip has gone red with the blood of over 100 people killed in just the latest rocket attack. The Iron Dome rocket defense system is in overdrive. Bombs are falling from a news source, and America may be closer than ever to direct involvement in a conflagration that shows no signs of slowing down. On the latest from this part of the Middle East, welcome back to MidPoint. Blogger, political activist, author, and former reporter for the New York Daily News, Pamela Geller joins us on the show. Pamela, thanks for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Pamela, let's look at what it's going to take at this point, and I understand it's going to be as simple as somebody stopping the rocket attacks here, but doesn't somebody have to take a step back here and at least wait a moment, take a breath, because this seems to be accelerating at a tremendous rate, and there's a lot of people feeling that this is the one that simply will not slow down. This is heading for something disastrous.
Well, when you say take a breath, it's actually 15 seconds of breath. That's how long it takes in Israel to get to one of the shelters. I wonder if New York or Dallas or LA was being rained upon with rockets and our ally told us to step back and take a breath, if we would do that. The fact is, this is a savage war against innocent civilians, and the rocket attacks must stop. And I don't see it escalating. I don't see it, stopping in any way. If you look at the songs that Hamas are playing and singing, it calls for the extermination of Israeli cockroaches. I don't think Israel has any choice but to defend itself. There is no other way. I don't know how you deal diplomatically with a rocket. Do you?
No, but there's certainly been a thinking process, and we've had people on this show in the last couple of days who have told us, in their opinion, that there is Hamas and there is the Palestinian people. And in their mind, there are a great number of the Palestinian people who do not fall in line with Hamas and do not back them. So it is Hamas basically against Israel right now. And these are the people who are saying, we are the innocents being killed for what Hamas is doing in our name, when it is in essence not in our name. How would you answer those critics?
They elected Hamas. The people of Gaza, the people of the Palestinian territories elected Hamas. So how could you say that they don't represent the people? It's nonsensical. It's not true. They absolutely do. And the fact is that Fatah, the more moderate of the newly formed unity government, has said it wants to join in this war. I mean, we have to deal with reality on the ground, and truth is the recognition of reality. And you can't avoid, you can avoid reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. They are raining rockets down on schools, on towns indiscriminately. Meanwhile, the Israelis are dropping pamphlets and leaflets warning the population that they're going to take out the rocket launcher in their living room, or they're going to take the rocket launcher out of a particular a basement of a mosque. I mean, it must be done. I just think that tolerance, when applied to evil, is a crime. And Israel is under a tremendous amount of pressure, I know, from President Obama as well. And now he wants to interject himself. He wants to negotiate a ceasefire. The fact is, if Hamas stopped firing rockets, Israel would stop trying to take out the missile launches and the rocket launches that are firing those rockets. It's really not rocket science.
Does President Obama at this point have the amount of respect that would be needed if indeed he would interject himself into this to try and create peace talks? Is he respected by Israel, by Hamas, by the people there in order to get something done? Or would it simply be looked upon as just an interference?
I don't think Obama has respect anywhere in the world. That's at his own doing. That's by his own hand. He has literally, in the short few years of his presidency, completely changed the global landscape, completely changed the power structure in the Middle East and in Africa. He backed the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. He backed Al-Qaeda-linked groups in Libya. He's backing ISIS and other Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood groups in Syria, and yet he's opposing ISIS in Iraq. It is an incoherent and incredibly dangerous policy. And these events are not static. They are fluid. And if we think that we're far away and that we're safe, I have to tell you, and it pleasures me none to say it, we have another thing coming.
I have about 90 seconds left, so let me ask you this, because I certainly know how you feel about this, but there are those believing and a thinking process that this is the time when Israel has to put those boots on the ground. They need to go in, and I have heard the words exterminate Hamas. Is this the time, in your opinion, to do this? Has that time passed? Are we there?
I think that an effective war on terrorism must be offensive and must be military rather than defensive. No one won a war in Operation Fetal Position. It must, rather than defensive and diplomatic, it has to be preemptive and it has to be preventative. Yes, I do believe the Hamas must be destroyed. It's a terrorist organization. Do you think Al-Qaeda needs to be destroyed? Does Boko Haram need to be destroyed? These are the same types of Islamic terrorist groups that are seeking to conquer, in accordance with 1,400 years of Islamic history, and wage jihad.
Then is that something Israel should be doing right now? Boots on the ground right now. Launch the offensive, as some have said, maybe in the making, and simply go after Hamas tooth and nail.
Ceasefire is no longer an option. Yes, Hamas must be destroyed. I can't be any clearer in answering your question. Now is the time. I mean, what are you going to wait for? They put a nuclear warhead on one of these rocket launches. Israel has no choice. This is not a game. This is an existential threat. And no country should live under a constant rain of rocket fire. No country.
15 seconds left then. We talked about Obama briefly, but should the United States get involved?
He has gotten involved, and that's why we are where we are. Remember, it was Obama who said he would work with Hamas, a U.S. designated terrorist group, when they joined Fatah in a unity government. It was only days after that that Hamas started to launch rockets. So Obama is already involved. I really think at this point, the best thing that could happen for everybody that loves freedom is for Obama to stay out of it, to step back.
Pamela Geller, thank you so much for your time. Pamela, we'll do it again.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, America, you're being jobbed. It's time you stood up and realized where it's coming from. That's coming up next, right here on MidPoint, where we question everything.
How long have you had your car insurance?
How long have I had my car insurance? I don't know, 8, 10 years?
I couldn't tell you, but things were a lot less expensive back then.
If you're 50 or over, you should take a new look at your auto insurance. You may be overpaying.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Old policy, old rates.
And thanks to your experience behind the wheel, you might save $404 by switching to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford. Plus, you'll get benefits that reward your driving record, like our promise that you won't be dropped.
Wait, you won't drop me? Seriously?
That's right, you won't be dropped. And if you know anyone who's been dropped by their insurance company, you know that's a hassle you don't need.
Especially these days.
Plus, you'll get Recover Care, which helps pay for everyday needs like house cleaning, lawn care, and pet services if you're injured in an accident.
So my auto insurance is going to help pay the house cleaning if I'm injured?
Did you say lawn care?
And if I can't walk my dog, they'll help me pay someone to do it for me.
Call the number on your screen to switch to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford and be rewarded for your experience behind the wheel.
Recover Care, auto insurance that helps take care of me. Now I've seen it all.
You won't drop me, you take care of me as well as my car, and you offer savings to switch. It's unbelievable.
If you're 50 or over, call now to request your free quote.
I'm gonna call.
I'm calling.
I'm calling.
I'm calling.
Call the Hartford at the number on your screen to request your free quote. 1-888-529-1797. We'll even send you this free calculator. Call 1-888-529-1797 now. Why wait?
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Are you struggling to make ends meet because you owe more in taxes than you can afford to pay?
The IRS is relentless and will collect from you. They can garnish your wages or place a levy on your bank account. You have rights, and you can stop them by calling the tax resolvers.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now, and we will contact the IRS on your behalf. Help you end wage garnishment, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, resolve tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify.
It's a free call and a free consultation, but we can only help if you pick up the phone and dial the number below.
You wouldn't fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you resolve your IRS problems.
Call the tax resolvers at 800-489-3480.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old.
8 years into the disease was when all the light went out.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
Looking into the eyes of somebody with Alzheimer's, sometimes you just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
And it takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
She actually thought those of us who were caring for her and who loved her most were her worst enemies.
More and more responsibilities fell on my shoulders.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable. My mother taught me to be in the moment.
We have to live in the moment with them.
And I'm going to be with that person right now in this moment, wherever she is.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
As you all know, for the last 15 months, I've talked about the need to get immigration reform done. This is an important issue in our country. It's been kicked around forever, and it needs to be dealt with. Having said that, we outlined our principles last week to our members, principles that our members, by and large, support. It's put together by the leadership team, and they believe it. But I never underestimated the difficulty in moving forward this year. And the reason I've said that we need a step-by-step, common-sense approach to this is so we can build trust with the American people that we're doing this the right way. And frankly, one of the biggest obstacles we face is the one of trust. The American people, including many of my members, don't trust that the reform that we're talking about will be implemented as it was intended to be. The president seems to change the health care law on a whim whenever he likes. Now he's running around the country telling everyone that he's going to keep acting on his own. Keeps talking about his phone and his pen. And he's feeding more distrust about whether he's committed to the rule of law. Listen, there's widespread doubt about whether this administration can be
trusted to enforce our laws. And it's going to be difficult to move any immigration legislation until that changes.
Right now, Congress has the capacity to work with us, work with state officials, local officials, and faith-based groups and non-for-profits who are helping to care for these kids. Congress has the capacity to work with all parties concerned to directly address this situation. They've said they want to see a solution. The supplemental offers them the capacity to vote immediately to get it done. Of course, in the long run, the best way to truly address this problem is for the House of Representatives to pass legislation fixing our broken immigration system, which, by the way, would include funding for additional thousands of Border Patrol agents, something that everybody down here that I've talked to indicates is a priority. But what I emphasized to the governor was the problem here is not a major disagreement around the actions that could be helpful in dealing with the problem. The challenge is Congress prepared to act, to put the resources in place to get this done?
America, the time has come to realize something that may be very difficult, not just for Republicans, not just for Democrats, for libertarians, independents, Wiccans, followers of voodoo, or those who worship at the altar of Ryan Seacrest. It will be difficult for some to grasp. It will be impossible for a lot of people to get their minds and opinions around. But if you think about it, just think, you may realize it's true. You, America, need to decide if you are being hosed. If you're perhaps being hoodwinked, snookered, bamboozled, taken for a ride, generally speaking, you must now make the call if you are being used, and by whom. It's not that Speaker of the House John Boehner is stretching the truth, and it's not that President Barack Obama is bald-faced lying to your face. Let's take those assumptions out of the equation for a few moments. Put yourself squarely in the middle of these conversations and think about them. We're hearing the same thing from both sides over and over and over again. Nothing new, nothing revelatory, nothing that would indicate a desire to do anything else, save for passing blame and making for great footage that we in the media will use time and time again to make their point. And what exactly is their point? There is a desperate need for immigration reform. On that, no one can argue. Let's drop in a few other things that cannot be logically argued with. There is a humanitarian crisis in full swing, not only at the Mexico-American border, but across this country as illegal aliens or refugees, you take your pick, are flooding into this nation with no jobs, no skills, no place to stay, and no solid clue as to what faces them when they get here. Communities are being overrun. Taxpayer dollars are being wasted faster than fan emotions over where LeBron would wind up. Americans are fed up, and the frustration will boil over any second. And both sides daily repeating the same dogma, the same words, the same recriminations, the same hyperbole. Nothing's getting done. Nothing. Complete and utter gridlock. And to some, that would appear just as your elected lawmakers want it. Snap out of it, America. Decide if you're being used. Then do something about it. Do something instead of joining the whiner parade and being just another lemming passing blame while trying to convince yourself something is getting done. This is MidPoint. Every day, we question everything.
Are you confused by all the expanding hoses on the market? Don't be fooled by imitations. Hi, I'm Michael Berardi. I'm the inventor of the X-Hose, the original blue expanding hose. In fact, I've been awarded 3 U.S. patents for my invention. My X-Hose is the only patented expanding hose on the market, and it bears the trusted DAP product's name. Now I'm very proud to introduce my new DAP X-Hose Pro. With solid brass fittings, a wider 3/4 inch diameter, and constructed from even stronger materials. Works like my original X-Hose. Just turn the water on, and my X-Hose Pro automatically expands and expands and expands as you effortlessly guide it to where you need to go. And when you're finished, my X-Hose Pro will automatically follow you back and contract for easy storage. My DAP X-Hose Pro is great for homeowners and professionals.
I own a mobile detailing company, and this hose saves me a lot of time and energy on my job. It never kinks, it is super lightweight, and hardly takes up any space in my trailer.
What I enjoyed when I watched her using the X-Hose Pro is that the hose actually looks like it's helping her use it.
This 50-foot 3/4 inch rubber hose weighs over 11 pounds. My 50-foot 3/4 inch X-Hose Pro weighs only about 2 pounds. My DAP X-Hose Pro is actually made from a tough, multi-layered expandable inner hose and a folded outer covering made from durable, super strong webbing. Because of its patented design, my X-Hose Pro will never kink. Get my new DAP X-Hose Pro for only $29.95, but call right now and get a second X-Hose Pro free. Just pay processing and handling. Durable, solid brass fittings, super strong materials, strong enough to pull an SUV, 3/4 inch diameter for a powerful spray, and incredibly light. So call now. I promise you'll love it.
Call 1-800-203-7613. Call now and get a second X-Hose Pro for free. Just pay separate processing and handling. So call 1-800-203-7613 and order your X-Hose Pro today.
They call themselves patriots and believe without one shadow of a doubt what they are doing is necessary and will make a difference in the immigration battle. We go to ground with a member of the militia in southeast Arizona. The president is leaving behind more than a few quizzical looks at his domestic policies. What about overseas? And how do those across the pond view what we're doing and where it all might be heading? And we'll talk with an Iraqi exile who seeks to change some of the political correctness when it comes to really understanding militant Islam. Buckle up. We question everything for Friday, July 11th, 2014. Just to ensure we have the entire planet covered with what is critical and necessary for everyone to be updated on, LeBron James has made his decision on where to play basketball in the 2014-2015 season and beyond. He did not announce that he would part the seas and feed the masses with one wave of his gazillionaire hand, though we understand that potential power was written into the contract where he signed back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, everybody breathe with me now. Everything important that's non-LeBron, okay? Now we got that taken care of. Let's go to the good stuff here right now. And the real news. Francesca Page and Newsmax Now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. From the immigration crisis to the violence in Israel, President Obama says he will help in facilitating ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas, according to the White House. President Obama spoke by telephone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Obama condemned the firing of rockets into Israel from Gaza and affirmed Israel's right to defend itself. The announcement that the U.S. might get involved comes after 3 days of escalating fire in which Israel has launched numerous air assaults on Gaza, killing scores of Palestinians, and militant groups here have fired hundreds of rockets at Israeli towns and cities. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is in Afghanistan. Kerry arrived in Kabul and arranged a visit with Afghan leader President Hamid Karzai and other top leaders. Kerry said he wanted Afghanistan to have a government that is recognized by all of the people. For the United States, the political crisis is threatening to undermine more than a decade of efforts to leave behind Afghanistan so that it can prevent extremist groups like Al-Qaeda from using the territory to endanger the American homeland. And in a very emotional House Committee on Veterans Affairs hearing, a panel of parents spoke out about the neglect and failures in the VA. They expressed their disgust at how the VA treated their sons and how it contributed to their suicides. That's your Newsmax Now update. Back to MidPoint.
He laid down on the floor. He was crying. There was no effort made to see if he could be admitted to another facility. There are 2 major medical centers within a mile and a half of the Phoenix VA.
And there you hear the parents. The hearing is the latest in a series of full hearings held by the congressional committees that have charged the VA with individual and systematic issues that have been allegedly caused hundreds of deaths of former servicemen and women. The panel cited a 2012 suicide data report that estimated 22 veterans commit suicide every day in the United States. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
To be honest, ICE had very, very few beds for family unit detention capability, and we've had to build more to deal with this, to send people back quicker. The Border Patrol has been working overtime, so we've incurred those overtime costs as well as simply the cost of caring for all the children at the border. And so, as I said earlier, at the current burn rate, ICE is going to run out of money in mid-August, and we project that CBP is going to run out of money in mid-September.
Everyday Americans are fed up with the logjam over immigration. Groups are gathering at various points along the border claiming it is their job to do whatever they can to stop the flood of illegal immigrants. And they are taking it on themselves to patrol the border and take action, they say, if necessary. Now, we are joined here on MidPoint via telephone by a member of one of these militia groups who tells us he is walking the border with fellow patriots. For security reasons, at his request, he has not provided his real name or identity in fear of possible reprisals by Mexican gangs and others whom he believes may not agree with his actions. He has asked to be identified by the pseudonym Whiskey Bravo for the purpose of this interview. Sir, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you give us an idea approximately of where you are on the border?
I cannot give up that information due to security reasons.
Are you
I can
along
only
the...
tell you that I am in Arizona and on the southern border.
You are along the Arizona southern border. How many are in your group?
I am not allowed to disclose that number at this time for me and my team's security.
Can you tell us if you are more than 10, more than 20, more than 50 people? Let's say, are you more than 20 people?
At this time, sir, I cannot give up that information for security reasons.
Okay, can you tell us where you're from?
I have been a resident of the state of Arizona for quite some time.
Okay. What are you exactly doing? Are you patrolling a certain area of the border with your team? Are you looking at a certain mileage marker area, a certain area? Can you give us an idea of exactly what you're exactly patrolling?
All I can say right now is that I am in the field and I am very close to the border and I am doing a lot of reconnaissance in this certain area that I cannot give up to you.
Okay. Are you seeing anything there? Have you seen any crossings of the border?
Yes, there were a few, other than Mexicans, that were apprehended about 48 to 72 hours ago by Border Patrol.
Okay. When you say other than Mexicans, you weren't aware of where they're from, actually?
No.
Okay. Are you taking any action to help stop these people?
I am assisting in any way that I can.
Which would then be what way?
What we are doing is we are doing surveillance work and working with Border Patrol and relaying what we are seeing to Border Patrol.
Okay, so you are telling what you are seeing then to the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol then is there and they are taking your information?
Correct.
Okay. Are you armed?
Yes.
Would you use your weapon if you had to?
Only in self-defense.
So you are then not using it in an offensive manner?
No.
What about those who would say that it's very dangerous for citizens to be carrying weapons along the border in a situation like this, which is very emotionally charged? There is a fear, perhaps, that something could happen.
That thought has crossed my mind, and I can't really speak for other people that are down here, but there are certain rules of engagement that I follow, and that's basically it.
From rules of engagement, are you former military?
Yes.
Okay. Did you serve in any of the recent conflicts? Are you a veteran of many years? Can you tell us give us an idea as to perhaps where you may have served and where you learned your military training?
I am a Cold War veteran.
A Cold War veteran. So you then are someone who came through the Vietnam era?
No, sir.
Came through the Korean War era?
No, sir.
Okay. 70s?
No, sir.
Okay, so you're not really willing to tell us?
My service was in the 80s.
Okay. Well, the Cold War is certainly considered to be in the 60s by many people. That's why I ask when you say Cold War. That's what that's considered, most people at least. How long are you prepared to stay on the border?
As long as I need to be here.
As long as, are you employed? Do you have the funds to be able to stay there, or are you taking donations? How are you able to stay there for such a long period of time?
I am getting help from outside sources that are allowing me to stay down here as long as I need to do what I need to do.
And these are all your people are the same way, getting help from outside sources in order to stay there?
Yes.
Have local law enforcement asked you folks to back off?
No.
Okay. Have you spoken to local law enforcement? Do they know that you're there?
Yes.
You hesitated.
Yes, and the local law enforcement that knows that we are in that area is Border Patrol.
Okay. Why are you there when there are governmental agents there? There is Border Patrol, there is ICE, there is INS. We are told by the government that there are people there that are handling this and doing the best they can. Why are you taking it upon yourself to be there?
Because there's nothing being done down here. The Border Patrol is they're stretched very, very thin down here along the southern border in Arizona, and we report and work hand in hand with them whenever we can.
Okay, you report to whom? To the Border Patrol?
Yes, I deal with. I basically have communications with field operatives for the Border Patrol. That would be agents that are patrolling in different areas.
Okay, tell us a little bit, if you can, about the people that are with you. Are they much like you? Are they people who are former military? Are they homeowners? Are they landowners? And why are they there? You don't have to give us their names, but give us an idea as to why you're all there.
The basic of to answer that question, the people that are here are just concerned Americans. Because the government isn't doing what they should be doing, there are people down here that are patriots and doing what they're doing.
Is there a fear, and I brought this up earlier, but I have to bring this up again because as you're telling us more about the people who are there and the people that you're dealing with, you are one group. Have you seen other groups there from other militias?
No, sir.
Are you aware of any that are in the area? Because we are told there are perhaps as many as dozens of them along certain areas of the border.
The area that I'm working in, to my knowledge, we are the only people that are in this area.
Okay. Are you part, or anybody in your group, were they part of the Clive and Bundy group?
No.
No one was at the Clive and Bundy ranch, because we are told that there are some militias that are part of the group, but you are not.
I am not, and I can't speak for the other people.
Other people in your group? You can't speak for
Correct.
the other people in your group, correct? Okay.
Correct.
When you say that you're going to be there as long as it takes, do you think that your presence there will force the government to do anything different?
We hope so.
You hope so. But what would you hope
Yes.
that they do? Because it takes time for things to happen. So how quickly do you think you can get them to act by your being there?
Nothing less than military on the border.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
That's the prerequisite that we are shooting for, is to make a presence to get our own military to the border to do their jobs.
So you want the government of the United States to put military, whether it's Army, whatever, but you want them to put somebody there, National Guard, that is your aim?
Exactly.
If you see illegals coming across the border, will you physically stop them?
That depends. That depends on the numbers, and I only say that for the security of the people that are here.
When you say for the security of the people here, you're talking about, you don't want to tell us how many people are there in case someone is listening?
Exactly.
Okay. But you are not afraid at this point, and you are certainly willing to stop them. You are willing to physically stop the people coming across the border and then hold them until you are able to contact Border Patrol to basically act as an arm of what the Border Patrol is doing? An ex officio.
No, what we're doing at this time is we are passing intelligence along to Border Patrol, and we're letting Border Patrol handle that. We are basically their eyes and ears to help fill holes that they have down here.
Are you going to be joined by anyone else here in the near future? Do you have others that are going to be coming and joining you from other places across America?
We're hoping so.
Okay. Do you believe that America is behind you?
I would like to believe so.
But? It sounded almost as if there was a but in there. You would like to believe so. All right, well, Whiskey Bravo, we thank you for spending the time with us. And again, we appreciate what you are doing, and we certainly appreciate your time, and we wish you luck in what you are doing. These are militia members who are at the border. Who they are, and what they plan on doing is still something of a mystery. It's a mystery to find out what will happen if anything emotional happens along the border. Stick around, because right here on MidPoint, we will continue.
Meet Jill. She thought she'd feel better after seeing her doctor, and she might have if not for Kari, the identity thief who stole Jill's social security number to open credit cards, destroying Jill's credit and her dream of retirement. Every year, millions of Americans just like you learn that a little personal information in the wrong hands could wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Jill had LifeLock's protection, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect the threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. And LifeLock offers the proactive protection of checking and savings account takeover alerts. LifeLock's comprehensive identity theft protection guards your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
Doesn't matter how old you are or how much money you have. Identity thieves steal from everyone. You have to protect yourself. I protect myself with LifeLock.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one protects you better than LifeLock. And LifeLock stands behind their protection with the power of their $1 million service guarantee. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and try 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. 60 days risk-free. Use promo code ONGUARD. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free.
Call 1-800-966-8458 or go to lifelock.com/onguard to try 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Call 1-800-966-8458 right now.
Now on Newsmax TV, Chris Christie is making a big comeback. And now some think he could still run and win in 2016. Watch the Steve Malzberg Show today. Go now to Newsmax TV.
Hamas has refused, against all movement and trends in the region, against all urging of the Arab community in the region, against all indicators of the Arab Peace Initiative, against all efforts of peace, stubbornly refused to even accept the quartet principles and to disavow violence as a means of finding a negotiated way forward. A negotiated way forward is the only way ultimately to resolve the problems and actually establish a Palestinian state and put in place the security measures and other things necessary.
With America in the grip of domestic crises such as immigration and a pending lawsuit against the president, foreign policy has taken a temporary back seat in the alphabet soup media. But it's there. The Obama administration might be able to find some sunshine in the clouds, with the president getting support from his base on Iraq and the Republicans seemingly still floundering in what to do. Welcome back to MidPoint. Former Deputy Staff Secretary to President Bill Clinton and veteran Democratic strategist David Goodfriend, and Professor of Public Policy, Politics, and International Affairs at Georgetown University, a member of George W. Bush Sr.'s staff and veteran Republican strategist Bradley Blakeman. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start things out, David, with you, because there is a tremendous amount of criticism that has been leveled at the president regarding some things that he has said about what's happening in the Middle East, some things he has not said. There are some who view that he is much too sympathetic towards Hamas, that he is not taking a hard enough line against them, and that, quite frankly, he is letting Benjamin Netanyahu just hang out there to dry. What are you gathering from all this now, and what, in your opinion, then, strategically, is the reality of the situation?
Well, I think that the president's support for a two-state solution in the Middle East is unambiguous and actually reflects large majorities in the United States generally and in the Jewish American community as well. And I think that we should not confuse that support for a two-state solution with support for Hamas. Those are two very different things. The president does not support Hamas. In fact, his administration has been very clear in targeting Hamas as a terrorist organization.
Well, no, I do want to point out that they're not saying that he supports Hamas, but they are very upset that he has not taken a harder line against what is considered a terrorist organization, and he has not been more forceful in speaking out against them. He seems almost to many people to be conciliatory.
Well, I think the president's style has raised a lot of concerns on all sides of the aisle. I mean, his foreign policy approach has been in direct contrast to his predecessor, Brad's former boss, George W. Bush. There's clearly an effort in the mind of President Obama to do things very differently than George W. Bush had done, and I would argue perhaps overcompensating for the cowboy diplomacy that preceded him. There's certainly, I think, some consensus among Democrats that there is a different, more forward-leaning posture to take in foreign policy. Now, I want to be quick to add that does not necessarily translate into high-powered explosives, which have really not been all that successful at getting the results we want in the Middle East. However, it could translate into more direct economic measures, more direct diplomatic measures, and I think at least some decisiveness would be nice to see.
All right, Bradley, I hear the words cowboy diplomacy, and I'll bet you're just chafing at the bit here to go ahead and get involved in this right now, because there are a lot of people who will say, what he is doing is simply wrong. He has laid back much too far and much too much on a lot of these issues right here, and is, quite frankly, in the commentary of some people, a little wimpy when it comes to all this.
Look, when your enemies don't fear you and your friends disrespect you, you have problems. And President Obama started out his presidency with disrespecting Israel, not going to Israel, going to Cairo, giving his famous speech, why can't we get along? Can't we just beat swords into plowshares? That's not the way it works, Mr. President. And the president has basically disrespected Israel, allowed the enemies to be emboldened, and now the entire Middle East under his tenure is in meltdown. Iran is closer to building a nuclear weapon. Almost every country surrounding Israel is in utter chaos. And this is what you get when you have appeasement and you don't have strong principled leadership. You embolden your enemies to do really terrible things. And we're seeing now Israel having almost to act alone because this White House has hung Israel out to dry.
All right, Bradley, I'm going to go ahead and now be critical of the Republicans for a moment here as well. I'll be equal opportunity for everybody here, because there are those who are saying, quite frankly, that the Republicans can't seem to agree on what to do in Iraq and the Middle East, and they're missing a grand opportunity here to get in here and create a solid foreign policy and really one-up the president here, but they're failing. True or false?
Well, look, the Republicans don't control foreign policy. Constitutionally, it's the president who makes treaties. It's the president whose portfolio is foreign policy. Remember, Republicans only control the House.
But should they
at
least not be speaking
by
out on it?
Democrats in the White House. What can the House do?
Should they at least not be speaking out on it? That's the point.
Oh, absolutely, we should be speaking out because the president isn't doing his job. He isn't representing this country like he should. He's not helping our friends. He's emboldening our enemies. Yes, that's the loyal opposition. We speak out, but we don't pick up our pen and our phone. We follow the Constitution.
David, go ahead. I heard you want to get in here.
Well, I think it's a little too cute for us to assume that this is a Republican-Democrat divide. It really isn't. It's within each party, people who are more isolationist, like Rand Paul on the Republican side, and people who are more interventionist, like Steny Hoyer, a Democrat from Maryland. I don't think that this breaks down neatly along partisan lines, and frankly, that's why you're seeing a division and frankly, indecisiveness on both sides. Americans are tired of war and tired of spending trillions of dollars and lives overseas when we see that simply doesn't work to impose our will on other countries. And I think that really is the source of the sort of indecisiveness you see among Republicans as well as Democrats. Are we really prepared to invade a country, to bomb a country, to die there, to kill there, when in reality, as we see in Iraq today, there is no guarantee that once you engage in that, you actually get results you like. And I think that is the source of the division within both political parties. It's much cleaner, in my view, to say, who are the interventionists? We can name them: John McCain, Lindsey Graham, to some extent, believe it or not, Harry Reid. And who are the isolationists, the people who want to pull away? Well, there's Rand Paul in the Republican Party, and there are Democrats in the Congress today who would say, I don't believe it's right to intervene. So that's where the breakdown lies.
Well,
and
but it's fair to say, just a second, it's fair to say that indeed Americans don't want to go back to war, but don't you still have to put together a solid front? Shouldn't the United States still have a solid, positive meaning about this is what we are, this is what we stand for? I think that's the bigger thing here. Americans don't want to go back to war, but I think some of them are tired of being stepped on.
Yes, and I think what we see in the Middle East today, quite frankly, is the breakdown of the state entirely. Whether you look at Syria or Iraq or Egypt, and I'm very afraid about Jordan right now, we're seeing that longstanding states have eroded. There is no respect for the state. The state is, frankly, powerless. And so we see terrorist groups like ISIS rise up. Israel's completely surrounded by chaos. Now, let's be clear. Does the United States have the power to wave a magic wand and change that? I would argue no. I think we have to be a little more realistic about what the power of the United States is today. We're not dealing with the Soviet Union. We're not dealing with functioning city-states. We're dealing with chaos where entire nations are disintegrating. We're trying, I think unsuccessfully, trying to support democracy in these areas. I'm not even convinced that democracy works in some of these countries when we see the results that we're getting. So
okay, a couple of minutes I have left here. I have to interrupt because I want to be able to make sure to get Bradley in here. Bradley, your response.
Yeah.
My response is either we learn by history or we're condemned to repeat it. After World War I, America was tired of war. And we let Hitler get so powerful and rebuild and retool in violation of treaty that he couldn't be stopped alone. America had to step in after being attacked with us by Japan. We had to fight on many fronts. And either we can appease and wait for Hamas and those to get so strong that collectively our allies like Israel cannot fend off their attacks. We're going to be involved sooner rather than later unless we're smart now and we exercise the power that only the United States can have and help our friends. Make sure that Israel, we have their back, 100%. Unequivocal. And then let's get some of our other allies in there who have interest in this region to be engaged. And that takes leadership. And unless there's leadership by the United States, sooner rather than later, we're going to be dragged into this thing and it'll make Iraq look like a picnic.
Bradley, 15 seconds, and the first thing right now, the absolute first thing that the president needs to do for foreign policy right now. Pick one.
He needs to watch Israel's back. He has to make affirmative, positive statements on the world stage that we're moving ships into the area and that we're moving assets into the area and that we have Israel's back.
David, you're going to get the last word on it. Agree or disagree? What's your number one?
The Obama administration has done more militarily for Israel than any of its predecessors, regardless of how you measure it. That's being done today. The fact that Brad would say that, I think, reflects that we don't have all the answers as the United States today, and we shouldn't pretend like we do.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry we don't have 3 or 4 hours here because, quite frankly, I think we could go on and we could absolutely take that up. It would be easy to do. We're going to have the both of you back on again very soon. We're going to take a little more time and dig into some things here because I know that there's a whole lot more we could do. I thank you both for taking the time to join us, and both of you have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Next up, there is only one living and breathing member of the planet that knows with complete certainty what was going to happen to the most talked about person in America today, and they tried, they deduced it, and we have the evidence when we go to Outland right here on MidPoint.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now. I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel
beautiful. I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
That was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Those struggling with their weight know that it goes beyond willpower.
I wish I wasn't still hungry.
Is this enough?
It's late, and I'm still hungry.
Weight loss is not just about willpower. While we have different triggers, we face similar challenges.
Am I full?
Do I want more?
Have I had enough?
Maybe it's time to try Belviq. Belviq is FDA approved for weight loss in adults who are overweight with at least one weight-related medical condition or obese. When used with diet and exercise, Belviq can help you lose weight and keep it off. Belviq works by activating receptors in your brain that are believed to cause you to feel full. For some people, this means that they can eat less.
I've had enough.
Being overweight can carry health risks, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or type 2 diabetes. If you are overweight with any of these conditions or obese, Belviq may help you lose weight and keep it off. Do not take Belviq if you're pregnant, planning to be, or nursing. Before taking Belviq, tell your doctor if you take medicines for depression, migraines, mental problems, or a cold, as these medicines with Belviq may cause serious or life-threatening side effects. Call your doctor if you have confusion, sweating, fever, or stiff muscles. Some people taking medicines like Belviq have had heart valve problems. Call your doctor if you have trouble breathing, swelling, dizziness, fatigue, or a regular heartbeat. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery until you know how Belviq affects you. High doses may cause mental problems. Talk to your doctor if you become depressed or have thoughts of suicide. In patients with type 2 diabetes, weight loss may cause low blood sugar. Stop taking Belviq and tell your doctor if you have prolonged erections or your breasts begin to make milk or increase in size. Belviq may decrease blood cell count. Common side effects include headache, dizziness, fatigue, nausea, dry mouth, constipation, back pain, and cough. Belviq may help you lose weight and keep it off. Talk to your doctor about Belviq. To get your 15-day free trial offer, call 800-798-5943 or visit startbelviqnow.com today.
Back, I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. New York City residents, regardless of immigration status, may soon have a valuable document which grants them access to several municipal services. If established, New York will have the country's largest municipal ID system. While the card is available to everyone who proves they live in New York City, it is primarily aimed at groups that are having a hard time acquiring government identification. New York City is home to at least 500,000 undocumented immigrants. That card will be available at the start of 2015, and Mayor de Blasio says it will help immigrants residing in New York to cash checks, sign leases, and enter public buildings, such as schools where their children study. And the case involving a high-price escort, a Google executive, and heroin is becoming more and more twisted as we learn new details. Reports say the self-proclaimed model often posted bizarre and dark tweets about death and murder on her Facebook page. And police in Georgia say they're re-examining the death of Atlanta nightclub owner they say the escort had been dating. This may turn out to be her second involvement in a death by heroin case. Investigators say the escort conducted online searches on how to legally defend herself after administering a lethal dose of heroin. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
As the day began, there was nothing more important in American life than the whereabouts of LeBron James. Lives stopped, people panicked, new media sources falling over themselves to report that same thing over and over and over again, which brings us naturally to those people and the others who now reside in Outland. Before LeBron James made his announcement today, which we'll tell you about momentarily if you haven't heard it. You've heard about it, of course, but you probably haven't, just in case. In Cleveland, at the Cleveland Metropolis Zoo, they turned to the only person, the only creature that they knew would be able to tell them beyond the shadow of a doubt that would get it right, absolutely, positively, no doubt, where LeBron James was going to sign. Watch.
We are here at Cleveland Metro Park Zoo with our barn owl, Tawny, and she is going to help us to choose which city LeBron is going to go to. We call her the wise old owl. We've got our cityscape over there. We have Cleveland on your right. We have Miami on your left. And we are going to let our actually wise young owl, let her pick. So if we are ready, I'm going to say, Tawny, pick your city, please. Ooh, sorry, Cleveland. It looks like the wise old owl is closer to Miami at this moment.
No truth to rumors that Tawny was flambéed and is now being served with a white wine sauce. She got it wrong. LeBron is going back to Cleveland. Let's talk about getting it right. Ever had a tooth that you needed to get out of your mouth and you would do anything possible to remove it? Try this on for size.
I'm going to shoot my arrow again and lose my tooth because it's bleeding.
How's it going to lose your tooth? It's going to pull it out?
Yeah.
You got a string tied to your arrow there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see you go.
I can't.
Aim for the tree. Hold it back and aim for the tree.
It's gone.
Let me see. It is gone.
Where is it?
On the string, probably.
Shot that arrow better than Kevin Costner did in the Robin Hood remake, as a matter of fact. And real quick, watch this video. This, you'll see, is what happens when you try to valet park a Lamborghini and it doesn't quite work. Do we have that? Yes? No? Maybe? Are we rushing towards it right away as quickly as we possibly can? Wait a minute, we don't have it. All right, we're almost out of time. We can't do it right now. I'll tell you what, because what happened was, it was one of those moments. We don't have it. We only have a few seconds left. I'm going to tell you, though, that it was from the Justin Bieber School of Parking. It's what he's doing for community service. This is it very briefly. Here it is. This is in New Delhi, the valet with a brand new Lamborghini. Maybe we'll see it. That's it. And now, your medical moment with Dr. Chauncey Crandall, dedicated to him.
When I was a young doctor, we were just learning about cholesterol and how too much of it could lead to a heart attack. We learned that there were 3 types of cholesterol: LDL cholesterol, which was bad, HDL cholesterol, which was good, and triglycerides. Now we know that not all bad cholesterol is the same. We learned that bad LDL cholesterol is comprised of 2 different types. One type is called pattern A, and the other type is called pattern B. And it's very important for you to know the type that you have. Feel free to pause the video and get a pencil to make notes. Pattern A LDL cholesterol is fluffy and bounces off the wall of your coronary arteries without damaging them. Pattern B LDL cholesterol is small and pellet-like and embeds into the walls of your coronary arteries, causing damage. To learn what pattern you have, you must ask your doctor for a blood test that is known as an advanced lipid screening test. Most of the time, doctors will not order it, but this is an important, state-of-the-art cardiology test, and research shows that this information is key to determining who is at the highest risk for a heart attack. If it does turn out that you have the deadly pattern B type of bad cholesterol, don't despair. I found that taking 500 to 2,500 milligrams of vitamin B3 or niacin can change a harmful pattern B LDL cholesterol to a pattern A cholesterol. In this Heart Health Minute, I told you about the importance of advanced lipid screening and learning about your cholesterol risk. But there are other very important tests you need to know about as well. Since most of you are already reading my book, The Simple Heart Cure, I want you to go to Chapter 10 and read about the other must-have tests you should ask your doctor about if you are over the age of 50.
Get your copy of Dr. Crandall's best-selling book, The Simple Heart Cure, for just $4.95 with this special offer. Go to www.simpleheartbook.com to get your copy today.
I've got a small business, and everybody said you should be promoting it with Facebook.
Well, I use Facebook for myself, but I had no idea how to use it for my plumbing business.
Then I heard about web.com.
They told me they would build a professional Facebook page for my business free.
So I gave them a call.
And then they built me a Facebook page for free. I couldn't believe it.
If you call web.com now, you can have a new Facebook page built for your small business free. We even write posts for your Facebook page that will get people talking about you.
It's like I have this whole big social media department for my business.
Call now and web.com will build your new Facebook page free. Then we'll continue to bring you new fans, write posts for you, and report on results, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
Now people call me and say, I found you on Facebook. How cool is that?
You say it, we build it free.
Call 1-855-235-7998 today.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
My name is Ed Berliner. I'm a host and a news anchor here at Newsmax. This country is desperate for a new voice to speak to that new generation that wants to know it all. Don't give me just half the story. Don't give me a piece of it. Let me get it all. Every single day, when people come to Newsmax, they're going to get an entire story. A new voice, a new generation. Newsmax TV.
We discussed a range of options, including military action, to provide support for the Iraqi government and to respond to their request at this difficult time. Iraq is facing a brutal enemy that also poses a threat to America's interests and to the interests of our allies in Europe and in the region. Given the gravity of the situation, I would anticipate timely decisions from the President regarding the challenge.
American intelligence does what it can. Yet for some reason, no matter how intricate and revealing the information is, the American government always seems to miss more than a few things when it comes to Iran, Iraq, and how to best deal with the radical factions that would like nothing better than to kill Americans and trumpet it to the world as often as possible. Learn about what goes on and what we should be thinking from one who's been there. We welcome into MidPoint IQ al-Razuli, an Iraqi exile and author. His name is not his real name for fear of reprisals. His books include the Quran Blogspot, The Idiot's Guide to Islam, and he seeks to make America think differently about radical Muslim, also through his book Lifting the Veil. We welcome IQ Razuli into the show. IQ, thank you so much for being with us, and I understand that we are keeping your location secret today, so certainly we thank you for taking the time and being with us here to speak.
Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you very frankly and very bluntly up front about Iraq, first of all. There are those who say simply that the country is too corrupt to save, that no matter who is in charge, whether it's Maliki, whether it's anybody who's sitting there, that there simply is not one or two or maybe even three honest men to run that country, so America should not get involved for that reason. What would be your response to that?
Well, America should not get involved then in most of the world because most of the countries are ruled by corrupt people. So that's not the answer. The question is what's happening in Iraq today a threat to the security of the United States of America and Americans? The answer is yes. And the threat is not only to America. This is a red herring to speak about radical Muslims. There is no such thing as a moderate Muslim. I know it sounds ridiculous or outrageous to politically correct ears. In the Quran, it forbids a Muslim from being moderate. It considers a Muslim who is moderate as an unbeliever, subject to death and destruction. This is not my words, this is the Quran's words. The tragedy is this. The Muslims declare in public, the leaders of Boko Haram, the Salafis, Osama bin Laden, they tell the world that this is exactly what they're doing because that's what the Quran tells them to do. And yet, Obama says Islam is peaceful. Obama says Islam is a religion. And so do all the leaders in Western Europe, ladies and gentlemen. Calling Islam a religion and or peaceful are two of the most egregious lies that have ever been insinuated into the human consciousness.
But is it not possible, when you say there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim, is it not possible that there is a faction of people out there, men, women, children, whatever, who simply would like to follow the religion to a point and do not agree with the violent nature of what you point to?
There are, but they are not considered Muslims anymore. I know it's difficult for a Judeo-Christian background to accept what I'm telling you. This is why America is failing with Islam. This is why Europe is failing with Islam. You are not willing to accept the facts and reality. The elephant is filling the room. But our leaders keep saying there is no elephant. But the elephant is there. I agree with you. There are so-called people who don't want to go to jihad. But these people are a minority. They're not the majority. This is why every time a Muslim country is given so-called democracy, what do they elect? They elected Hamas in Gaza. They elected the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. And then they regret it. Why? Because Islam is the antithesis of democracy. Islam is the enemy of all the human beings who are not Muslim.
What about those people who say, and I understand what you're saying, but what about those people who are out there saying that it is the radical nut jobs, the wackos, they'll use whatever phrase they want to use, the ones who hijack the Quran's teaching and hijack Muslims simply to fit their own agendas?
Mr. Berliner, ask the people who said that. Have they read the Quran? 99% of the people who tell you these things never read the Quran. Forget about studying it. I didn't spend 30 years of my life to be giving you bullcrap stories. This Islam is radical. Islam is hate-mongering, war-mongering, misogynist, racist, intolerant, and vile. I know it sounds outrageous what I'm saying.
It doesn't sound outrageous to a lot of people because, quite frankly, there are a number of people who agree completely with what you're saying. Let's take it because you've been there, you have been on the ground with this, you know the religion inside and out, you speak the language, you've been an author on this. So if indeed we are to take what you are saying as fact, that there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim, they are all radicals, what then should be the American take when it comes to dealing with not just Iraq, but any government that has radical Muslim elements in it? Simply back away and not do anything at all?
Quarantine them. That's what you do. Support the people who are supporting you. You have friends in the Middle East. For example, Israel is supposed to be a friend of your America. But America always stabs Israel in the end. Why? Every time, look what Hamas is doing. I'm not digressing. I'm trying to give you an example.
Please do. You got about a minute left.
Hamas puts its rockets and missiles in residential areas. Why? Because they know when Israel counterattacks, civilians will be killed on purpose. They put them there. And then the American public and the European public and world opinion will go against Israel. You know, the Muslims, the Israelis use their military to defend their civilians. The Muslims use civilians to defend their military. In a nutshell.
When you talk about America then getting involved with Iraq at any instance whatsoever, should we simply then just understand that they are too corrupt, they need to be left alone, and there are some people saying we need to be isolationist then against any Muslim form of government?
Yes, you should not interfere in Muslim countries. Look what's happening in Afghanistan as you're leaving now. More Americans are getting killed. By whom? By Muslims who are in the military. Look, you've got to understand your enemy. America, until today, especially under Obama, who forbids associating Islam with terror, this is outrageous. It's egregious. This is a treacherous behavior. I know I sound, extreme. I know. but I'm not extreme. When you don't want to know what your enemy is all about, when you don't want to know his psychology, how are you going to defeat them?
We are going to have to stop it there. Unfortunately, IQ Rassouli, thank you very much. You have been very, very forward with your comments. Trust me, we will speak again. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There are words being said there that a lot of people would agree with and a lot of people are going to find a problem with. However, it comes from someone who has lived there his entire life. MidPoint continues.
I've always seen No-No on TV and I always wondered if it worked. And it's definitely, I can see what everybody talks about now.
It's not a razor. It's not a laser. It's No-No from Radiancy, the #1 hair removal system in the world.
It's absolutely no pain.
Can't believe the difference, Al. It's almost hair-free.
No-No gives you no hair with no pain.
Well, I saw it on TV and they said it was painless, right? I didn't really believe it, but now that I'm trying it, it feels completely painless.
And now, No-No is better than ever. Introducing the new No-No Pro. It's up to 35% more powerful. Imagine never having to shave again.
I like a close shave. Absolutely. And this is better than that. I mean, it's gone.
No more facial hair. No more embarrassment.
I've always been self-conscious of my hairline, so putting my hair back, this will be perfect for me.
And for that man in your life, there's No-No for him too.
It looks like just like you've got a fresh wax, but like you don't have to go through all the pain.
Call now and we'll send you the cordless No-No Pro in your choice of colors. Featuring an LCD display, it comes with up to 5 treatment levels. Plus, we'll include everything you need to get rid of your unwanted hair. A set of thermocon tips specially designed for your face and body. A buffer pad to exfoliate and polish your skin. Plus, act now and we'll send you the No-No travel case as a free gift. And get this, you can try No-No risk-free for not 30 days, but 60 days with our triple guarantee. If you are not 100% satisfied, return it and we'll refund the purchase price, refund the shipping, and even pay the return postage. Try No-No risk-free today.
I need to get myself one of these right now.
Absolutely.
For your 60-day trial, go to nonopro.com or call 1-800-934-5335. That's 1-800-934-5335.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. MyBenefits811.com. At MyBenefits811.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other strategies we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At MyBenefits811.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says MyBenefits811.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to MyBenefits811.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's MyBenefits811.com. MyBenefits811.com.
Hi, I'm Ben Affleck. The only thing better than playing a hero in the movies is being a hero in real life. Like the 50,000 veterans who returned from Iraq and Afghanistan with devastating injuries. They are true heroes, and they're why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America. For more than 60 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has made a promise to never leave a fallen comrade behind. They make sure veterans with spinal cord injuries get the quality medical care, rehabilitation, and housing they need when they come home. They stay with our fallen heroes for the long term, offering counseling, job training, and support to help them regain the freedom and independence they fought so hard for, all at no cost to them. Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them. To learn more about how you can help, visit pva.org. That's pva.org. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Amidst the sounds of bombs falling on the Gaza Strip, cities and towns across Israel, and news that rockets are flying from Lebanon, Israel has restricted media coverage in some places, seeking to tamp down the coverage of a conflict that is growing faster than anyone might have expected. What is coming out of the Middle East is alarming, frightening, and shows what life is like in an escalating war zone. The subject of this edition of News Call.
In Gaza, the ground-shaking Israeli airstrikes rain down, with drones and jets targeting militants and rockets, but often destroying much more. So far, around 80 Palestinians killed, the vast majority civilians. This morning, 8 members of a single family mistakenly killed. We've seen the destructive power of the strikes up close. Here, the 3-story family home of Sami, now a pile of rubble.
In the Khan Yunis refugee camp, the bodies kept coming today. This was the funeral of the Hajj family. A mother and a father killed, we are told, alongside their 6 children. They were asleep in their beds when the Israeli airstrike hit, flattening their home. There was little left to salvage here. Young and old, the neighbourhood was left in shock.
In broad daylight on a busy street in Gaza today, this car was incinerated by an airstrike. Islamic Jihad, a Palestinian militant group, told us 2 of the 3 men who were killed were its members. Israel also targets what it calls command centres, though in reality they're often the homes of militants. To give their families a chance to evacuate, the Israeli army sometimes telephones in advance or fires a small missile without an explosive as a warning.
The explosions are incredibly close and extremely loud, and they're in the middle of Gaza neighborhoods. Israel accuses Hamas of hiding fighters inside these communities. Israel says it's trying to avoid killing civilians, but whether by day or by night, the toll is increasing. In the middle of last night, Israel dropped a bomb that killed an entire family. 7 civilians dead, according to Palestinian medical officials, 5 of them children.
Palestinians picked through the rubble of still smoldering homes in Gaza, even as other buildings burn from fresh Israeli airstrikes. In Israel, streets were filled with more people running for cover, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, as Hamas militants shot off more rockets. Most have been intercepted by Israeli air defense.
This is daily life here in Israel right now. The sirens and the fear. Civilians running for cover from incoming rocket fire. Several rockets getting through Israel's Iron Dome defense system, landing and exploding near Beersheba, one of the larger Israeli cities not that far from Gaza.
The Palestinian death toll in Gaza stands at 90, mostly civilians. Right now, tonight, the question is when or if this becomes a ground war. That may be why tonight President Obama called Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, offering to broker a ceasefire. It is where we begin our coverage tonight with NBC's Ayman Mohyeldin in Gaza.
Another night, more strikes, and a rising death toll. Before dawn, one of those strikes hit this home. The target, destroyed, was the home of a suspected Hamas militant. He wasn't there. His neighbors next door were, and they paid the price.
It is worthwhile bringing up that as a follow to a lot of this, there is now some concern about a rocket being fired from Lebanon. At least 100 dead in Gaza. The Israeli government says they will hold the Lebanese government responsible for the attack. Hezbollah, by the way, it should be pointed out, operates in Lebanon. They have other conflicts in the region right now. They probably do not have the appetite to start another war or another faction of a war, yet there is still some concern that Lebanon, or at least on the ground in Lebanon, may be involved. And we will continue to follow this story and a whole lot more here on the Newsmax TV network and here on MidPoint, where every single day, Monday through Friday, we question everything.
Meet Jill. She thought she'd feel better after seeing her doctor, and she might have if not for Kari, the identity thief who stole Jill's social security number to open credit cards, destroying Jill's credit and her dream of retirement. Every year, millions of Americans just like you learn that a little personal information in the wrong hands could wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Jill had LifeLock's protection, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. And LifeLock offers the proactive protection of checking and savings account takeover alerts. LifeLock's comprehensive identity theft protection guards your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
Doesn't matter how old you are or how much money you have. Identity thieves steal from everyone. You have to protect yourself. I protect myself with LifeLock.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one protects you better than LifeLock. And LifeLock stands behind their protection with the power of their $1 million service guarantee. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and try 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. 60 days risk-free. Use promo code ONGUARD. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free.
Call 1-800-966-8458 or go to lifelock.com/onguard to try 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Call 1-800-966-8458 right now.
Republicans may be banking their midterm and 2016 success on a certain group of voters. The question is whether they have enough of what it takes to convince these people that right is right. Is the immigration crisis really what some have called Obama's Katrina, or just another soggy controversy that will melt away by the time America casts a vote? And we go around the dial with Washington insider Chris Plant, who's been watching from ground level how the nation's capital works and how it often doesn't work. Once more into the breach as we question everything for Friday, July 11th, 2014. We will also drop in on our sister shows for the comments you may have missed, but will thank us for reminding you of them once the words have been noted. LeBron went to Cleveland. Sorry, it wasn't even a spoiler. Note first this edition of Newsmax Now with Francesca Page.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Veterans Affairs Committee Chairman Jeff Miller listened to testimony from parents of suicide victims on Capitol Hill yesterday. The chairman says the hearing shed new light on the horrible human costs of the VA's dysfunction. The VA remains entangled in a web of scandals involving secret waiting lists, falsifying records covering up wrongful deaths, and retaliation against staffers. At yesterday's hearing, parents of military members who committed suicide shared stories about the failures of the VA to properly care for patients suffering from PTSD and other war-related mental trauma.
It's a very slippery slope from PTSD and TBI to death, something our VA should realize.
Not one more veteran should have to go through what Clay went through with the VA after returning home from war.
There was much more powerful testimony from victims' families. One parent said his child was the military's guinea pig for mental health drugs. And the House is seeking to pass legislation aimed at combating veteran suicides. Moments ago, the Associated Press confirmed reports that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not interested in a ceasefire agreement. Today is the fourth day of fighting between Israel and Hamas militants. The Israeli military says it has hit more than 1,000 targets inside of Palestine. Many of the spots they were bombed were rocket launching sites for the terrorist group Hamas. Militants have shot some 550 rockets into Israel during the four-day offensive. And President Obama finally reached out and spoke with Israeli Prime Minister yesterday. Obama condemned the firing of rockets into Israel and affirmed Israel's right to defend herself. However, the president says he wants the fighting to end and offered to broker a ceasefire between the two nations. Of course, we know Israel said thanks, but no thanks. And Secretary of State John Kerry is trying to broker a deal of his own. Right now, the Secretary is in Afghanistan to help resolve a runoff election that is spiraling out of control. Kerry wants both sides to hold off on declaring a victory until the United Nations conducts an audit of the votes. And Secretary of State says the goal is to create a process that confers legitimacy to whoever emerges as the rightful leader in Afghanistan. Perhaps Mr. Kerry can broker a deal in Mississippi, where Chris McDaniel is still challenging a June 24th runoff election against Senator Thad Cochran. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
We have to return people, and we have to show others in Central America that we are returning people. That is how to deal with the existing situation. In order to do that and do that quickly, we're building detention capability for adults who bring their children here. We did not have much of that type of detention capability until very recently. And so we're turning the adults around faster, and we're turning the adults, we need to turn the adults with children around faster in order to send people home.
Washington and the media that cover them, always looking out for those catchphrases that will snap attention to a story. Even if it's not quite accurate, it's all part of the sell job. One phrase moving around the Beltway and the nation of late is Obama's Katrina, noting the president is as trapped by the immigration crisis as President George Bush was with Mother Nature. That and more. We welcome back from the website whitehousedossier.com and the electronic pages of Politico. Keith Koffler joins us again on MidPoint. Keith, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thanks very much.
All right, Obama's Katrina. Let's get right to it. Is that a fair characterization?
It's fair in the sense that it's even worse, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, remember, Bush got a lot of his criticism after he didn't go to the scene in New Orleans, after he flew over. Obama got his criticism before he even went down there. He was begged by Democrats privately and publicly to go to the border to see what happens. He didn't do it. It's not the end of his presidency, but it really, I think, showcases, even for Democrats, the type of irresponsibility that's going on now with this White House. And for the first time, really, in a serious way, you have Democrats coming out and saying, you know, and MSNBC as well, correspondents on there saying, you know, this is ridiculous. What is wrong with you? Why aren't you going to the border to at least show that you care about these issues? It is in some ways his Katrina. It will be remembered, and I guess I think that is a fair characterization overall.
Keith, what could possibly be the end game here for the president? Because let us just briefly consider all this. You don't go to the border. You say that it's an optic issue right now. You don't want to have those bad pictures taken of you. Certainly don't want those being passed around. You play pool with the governor of Colorado in Colorado at a bar there. I mean, what in essence, it's almost as if you want to pull your hair out every now and then and say, what could he possibly be thinking, and what could the people around him be thinking? This is a failure of massive proportions, even when it comes just down to marketing somebody. You would find probably, I hate to go off on a tangent like this, but you'd find somebody who's a second-year marketing student from any college or any community college who would say, that's not how it's done if you want to grab people's attention and get them on your side.
That's a great point, and I'm actually not tearing my hair out because this provides endless copy for me. I mean, I just, you know, the incoming is so extreme, I can't keep up with it all. Yes, it's a PR nightmare, but I think what's going on here is that, you remember Dukakis, he had this statement he said about Bush, H.W. Bush, that the fish rots from the head, this nasty little statement that he put out there, well, I think that's what's going on here. It's not so much that he has bad PR people, although he may have that, but I think at some level he doesn't care anymore. He's not paying attention. He knows that he's not going to get anything else substantial through Congress. He therefore does not need to kiss their butts or worry about them. He doesn't really need to worry about public support anymore, because he knows that basically what they're going to be doing for the rest of the Obama administration is writing their little rules in the West Wing. They don't need really popular support for that. And I think at some level, he doesn't care. He's going to do what he wants, and it's really a travesty for the country. You know, on foreign policy, he's never been particularly interested in that. So he's running around making things even worse by shooting pool on this trip instead of going to the border. And so I think that his aides are accommodating that in a way that they're not worried about how, you know, every single thing looks. And one more point. I mean, what you said is exactly the problem here. They're worried about the PR. They're worried about putting his face with these refugees, okay? But the issue, you know, I've covered the White House for a long time. When a president goes somewhere, it makes a difference. It gets people energized within his administration. It says, hey, the boss cares about this. Let's take care of this problem. So what they're worried about is getting him mixed up and photographed amid all these refugees or whatever you want to call them, illegal immigrants, really. They're not really refugees. And instead of caring about really doing something about it, getting the president down there and getting him to sort of knock people into line and get on the issue.
Keith, I keep hearing from Washington, the few people that I know up there every now and then, talk to them, and they say that from every Democrat that they know, they find some who have been completely living in Barack Obama's pocket for 5, 6 years, and they are running scared right now because, frankly, you're right, if he doesn't care, but still the Democratic Party has to care what's going on here, because you saw Udall in Colorado who just couldn't wait to not be seen with the president in a photo op, and you have to believe there are others right now going, the man is turning into poison, and we got the midterms coming right around the corner. It's a frightening scenario for the Democrats. Of course, a wonderful scenario if you're a Republican.
It's very difficult for them. You know, Udall, he didn't even appear at his own fundraiser with the president. I mean, that's really a unique sort of insult to the president. I mean, yes, they are harmed terribly by all of this. There's a general feeling developing, I think, that Democrats can't run the country, that there's a problem with a lot of the policies, even the policies that have succeeded, that he succeeded in passing, like Obamacare, are not popular. And he's just making things worse by looking like he's some sort of child, drinking beers and playing pool. I think it's devastating. You know, I think there are a lot of Democrats in town, professional Democrats, who feel like they have not seen anything like this before. And now what you have also is some House Democrats, politicians coming out of the woodwork, actually criticizing the president. That's a big threat to the president of the United States within his own party, starts going after him publicly. All presidents that have had problems, Richard Nixon didn't really have to resign until the Republicans came over and told him that he had a problem. I mean, that is something that they really fear at the White House, and that's something that's developing. It's an important development.
If you look on the other side of it, let's look at, for instance, the lawsuit that's here. And there are those people who will say the immigration is certainly a big issue out here. It is hurting the president. But then you have John Boehner and other Republicans, but mostly Boehner, who is willing to file a lawsuit against the president, which there is not one legal expert that I have found yet who says it's a good idea, that it would succeed, that it has any merit whatsoever. They keep saying that the Republicans are missing the boat again. Focus, man, focus. Stay off all this ancillary stuff here and get to the meat of the issue. Are they indeed, Republicans that is, losing a great opportunity here if they don't attack, and attack smartly?
Well, do you mean that they should be impeaching him, or
no,
instead,
not necessarily, but instead of going after things like a frivolous lawsuit, because that doesn't do anything at all. Throw that away.
Yes.
Get to the meat of the issues instead of doing all this sideshow.
No, the lawsuit is ridiculous, but I think it does have a purpose, because I think what Boehner is trying to do is to mitigate some of the appetite on his right side to actually do impeachment. You see Sarah Palin coming out and saying that we need to impeach him. That's ridiculous. He's not going to be impeached. It would be a tragedy for the Republicans. I think what Boehner is actually trying to do is somewhat savvy. He's trying to take some of the heat off of that. So we do this little lawsuit, and it winds its way through the courts, and no one takes it particularly seriously. But at least from Boehner's perspective, he's taken the wind out of a possible impeachment thing, which he knows would be a disaster for Republicans.
All right, now, where do we go from here? This is the simple point that America wants to know. We've spoken to a couple of militia members who are walking around the border these days, armed, and they claim they're helping the Border Patrol. We have the possibility of a flashpoint at a lot of these border locations right now. Somebody could get killed. God forbid, something's going to happen. So where do we go from here? Where do the Republicans need to go? Because as I pointed out earlier in the show, we hear them keep saying, the president doesn't do this, the president doesn't do that. Come up with something now that is really substantive and get the process to move forward. What is that?
Right, but that's the thing. They can't do very much. I mean, they need to put, legislation out there seeking to close the border. They need to promote that. I think people are much more amenable to that as a first step on immigration reform than ever before, given what's happening. They need to get out there and promote that. But remember, Harry Reid is not going to let anything move in the Senate. There's just, from a PR standpoint, there are things they can do. But ultimately, this is the president's game to actually try to close the border. He has had 5.5 years to do that. He hasn't done it. The Republicans make their case. They can possibly take over the Senate, and then they can send him some bills, which he'll veto. I'm just not sure that they have a lot of power, short of getting a Republican president, to do a lot about this.
With about a minute or so left, do we need to finally just say and put this to bed that immigration reform is dead? Nothing's going to happen here by the midterms. This is going to drag us into 2015, and it could, quite frankly, go as far as 2016.
Oh, immigration reform is utterly dead. I mean, the Republicans do not trust the president. They do not trust, even if they pass something, they don't trust him to enforce the law. And they don't want, a lot of the provisions in these immigration reform bills that are out there. They want him now to close the border first, and that's what their base wants. And nothing is going to happen until that occurs. And clearly, the president is not very interested in that.
You do know that every time you or I or anybody else uses the phrase Obama's Katrina, there are Republican critics somewhere. They are just smiling.
Yeah, he finally got his.
They're loving every second of it because that's what they're saying. He finally got his. Keith Koffler, the editor of White House Dossier. Keith, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Let's do it again. Have a great weekend.
My pleasure, too. Thank you.
All right. There is simply so much that still has to go back and forth here. And I still have to come back to the fact that we know that there is armed militia walking around the border right now, claiming that they are helping the Border Patrol, claiming that they're in contact with the Border Patrol. Imagine what happens, though, if because of this crisis and because of what has been allowed to happen in so many ways, if people start getting killed and somebody does something really stupid at the border, which, quite frankly, is pretty much always a possibility. Okay, next up, Republicans have their eye on a certain block of voters for the midterms and beyond, but will those voters trust anyone at this stage of the game? That's a question we will ask right here on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
In 2014, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you're robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
To find out more, call 800-263-4151. That's 800-263-4151.
Are you one of the many Americans who undergo CPAP or BiPAP therapy? Replacing your supplies every 3 to 6 months is critical, as bacteria will build up and worn-out straps cause leaks. Call Allied Medical Supply Network and speak to an expert agent who will set up a schedule for your supplies to be delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today and rest easy.
Call 1-800-697-1242. That's 1-800-697-1242.
Now on Newsmax TV, Chris Christie is making a big comeback. And now some think he could still run and win in 2016. Watch the Steve Malzberg Show today. Go now to Newsmax TV.
I think strategically they're looking for someone that can actually articulate a message and a vision that resonates with them, that has solutions for fixing our debt, for growing our economy.
In the minds of many potential voters across the country, the party affiliation makes no difference. Both sides have failed to deliver on their various promises of jobs and future security, so why would anyone trust either side? Trouble is, when it comes to elections, you have to trust someone. And the group known as millennials is wondering who they can trust and why they should trust them in the first place. Welcome back to MidPoint. Chairman of Patriarch Equity and Digital Marketing.com, market analyst You've read him in Forbes and Business Week. Eric Schiffer joins us. Eric, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, good to see you again, Ed.
All right, Eric, let's get right to
for
this when
having
it comes down to the millennials here. I saw an article and it caught my attention right away. Has 6 years of President Obama turned millennials into a bunch of Tea Partiers? What do you think?
You know, it's interesting. That was a New York Times article, by the way. And, you know, I think that what we're seeing, and certainly with the followers that I have and significant numbers of millennials, you know, not only are they turned off by, I think there's a distrust in government. And I think that's only increased with some of the things that are happening on the border, some of the things that are happening and have happened with the NSA. And also the fact that while we're in an economic recovery of sorts, it doesn't and it hasn't translated to real jobs. So you've got millennials that fit into this group between, you know, roughly from a working perspective, 18 to 30-year-olds that are seeing the economy, you know, doing okay in terms of the headlines, but they're not seeing it translate. And so typically what you find, and certainly from FDR all the way to JFK, this younger generation has always typically voted Democrat. We're seeing, especially from that New York Times article, there's a shift that's happening. And it's slight, but there's a shift. And the shift is towards the conservative side. And typically, those shifts generally come from a major event. And the distrust in government is one of those factors.
Is there enough of a shift there, though, Eric, if you think about it? Because you mentioned it's small, and the Republicans need to chip away whatever they can at this point, but is it really going to be enough to make a difference in the midterms?
Well, you're seeing numbers that are not insignificant. In fact, what you're seeing is almost an increase of 10% of people that had voted before on the Democratic side that are not going to vote Democrat, and you're seeing an increase of almost 6 to 8% on the Republican side. So, you know, in some of these elections in which the difference can be, you know, less than 10,000 votes, it absolutely can make a difference. And that's, you know, that's why millennials can actually really have an impact in this election.
All right, now here comes something I want you to listen to as well. This comes from GVH Live. It is a web-based media platform that targets millennials. They interviewed the founder and editor of Millennial Elephants, Kellen Curry, on which party is likely to get the millennial vote. Here we go.
Tea Party candidates are going to get a boost of momentum from what Dave Bratt's been able to do, and I think they're going to seize once again on what looks like a winning message of economic populism for young voters who are looking for a different kind of politics.
Here we go right back to that Tea Party thing again. Now, you would think, at least just looking at the Tea Party and how the media paints the Tea Party in many instances, that there is no way that it would absolutely appeal at all to that 18 to 30 range. Is it not that they're really doing a great job getting the message out, but the president right now is doing such a terrible job getting the message out that it's poisoning the well for Democrats?
I think that millennials can, you know, choose very wisely. I mean, this is the most sophisticated generation in terms of awareness and discernment of the media of any generation in the history of mankind. They grew up with this. They grew up watching TV. They grew up on computers. And so they get their news very differently. In fact, many of them don't even watch TV. They get their news online, which is, you know, via Newsmax, via Fox News, via other outlets that typically may not be so ubiquitous in a traditional broadcasting sense. They make their own choices. They really sort for truth, and they can sniff out what's fake. And I think one of the things that we're beginning to see is this, you know, not much of a difference in some of the pieces of information that are being passed by the Tea Party that are factual. I mean, they may not come through the best prism of you know, display and perhaps the most politically palatable way in which they've been painted, but they're fact-based. And so millennials look at facts, they make decisions based on facts, and one can't deny what's going on in this economy. They can't deny the debt. They can't deny the fact that we are borrowing from countries like China, you know, trillions of dollars. These things need to end. And, you know, the next generation of Americans, the leadership, millennials, are going to inherit all this stuff, and many have had enough. Many want to see an economic recovery that really translates into jobs. Many of them want to see a country that's not, you know, saddled in debt, and many of them want to see something done about the border with this tremendous influx of people where there's no protection of the border. I mean, you could have ISIS members coming across, through Mexico. That's craziness.
Eric, do they really get it, though? And I ask that question because many times when I talk to people who are in their late teens, in their 20s, and even their early 30s, they don't seem to have a grasp of the news many times. They seem to be taking it at a glossing factor. What's been said in the headlines? What is the one-liner they read on Twitter, the one-liner they read on Facebook, instead of digging in and finding out some of the real facts that are involved here? Isn't that the single biggest issue? They're sophisticated, but do they dig deep enough to find out what the facts are and to get past all the hype and the flash?
The data is showing that they do at a larger degree. Now, obviously, there are many that don't, and so you can find a lot of anecdotal situations in which that's not the case, but the data that we're seeing is a trend towards finding that information and also using it and also acting on it and changing of belief systems toward the conservative side. Look, there was a French proverb that said, in essence, in your 20s, it's all about want of heart, and in your 30s, it's all about want of head. When you begin to have to make a living, and when you begin to have to pay the bills, whether you want to really spend 50% of your dollars that you're earning to taxes, and send it to different programs that may not make the most sense in the most efficient way, it begins to make you think about how you want to live your life and what are the beliefs that are really important to you and for your family.
You look at the Democrats and the Obama campaign. First time they were elected, second time, they did a masterful job of using social media to their advantage, and they really pulled in a tremendous vote from the youth in that way. Is it fair to say now that the president may have backed himself into such a corner as far as the millennials are concerned, made so many mistakes, that it doesn't make what difference or what they do in social media this time? They're a little savvier this time, and on top of that, maybe the Republicans, if they were a little savvier in social media, imagine what that swing might bring.
I don't think that social media can hide the facts. What social media is good at is getting out the facts. And if you remember when Obama was doing these messages, I mean, this was through a Bush administration in which people had enough about the Iraq War. They felt that hundreds of billions of dollars were being spent at Iraq when we shouldn't have been there. People were dying, and many of them, look at the facts. I mean, the facts are we spent $1 trillion, we've left Iraq, and we've lost Iraq in essence. So, I think that now we're at a completely different set of facts. I mean, we're a set of facts in which, there's somewhat just level of distrust in government. We have an immigration problem that no matter what side you're on, you can't deny the fact that you've got tremendous amounts of people that are crossing the border in which we don't have control of the border. And we still have a debt that's significant. We still have a budget deficit. We're still borrowing trillions of dollars. And we're printing money. I mean, the Fed is printing money still. They've slowed down, but they're still printing. So I think there's no question that social media is a vehicle to get the message out. But if your underlying facts are not necessarily strong for the electorate, it really doesn't matter.
I've got about 45 seconds left. Do you think millennials understand the fact that even if they change things in 2014 and 2016, they're still going to be the ones who are going to bear the brunt of this because it's going to take a long time to fix this financial mess?
I think they know it well. I think that they are grittier than we may give them credit in terms of having in the media. But I think they're also an optimistic group, and they're reality-based. And so I think that I'm optimistic, about the generation, despite the fact that there aren't, necessarily strong markers yet. The data's looking good, and I also believe in the country. I believe that we will find more and more leaders that are going to rise up, not just on the millennial side, but the Gen X side, that will take the mantle of the future decades for this country. I don't believe that America's best days are behind us. I believe they're in front of us.
Outstanding. I like that to launch us into the weekend. Eric, it is always a pleasure to see you again, my friend. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk again soon.
You too, Ed. Thanks for having me. Take care.
My pleasure. All right, a couple of numbers here, too, just before we get out of here. 66% of the millennials surveyed said government is wasteful and efficient, and 59% say cutting taxes would help the economy. It is the millennials who are going to take us into that next generation. Coming up next, the latest from the Newsmax Now desk and a peek back at our sister shows and what they have been bringing to the table. Interviews that you may have missed, but trust us, these are the things we bring you to make sure that you don't miss it a second time around. Right here on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
Meet Jill. She thought she'd feel better after seeing her doctor, and she might have if not for Kari, the identity thief who stole Jill's social security number to open credit cards, destroying Jill's credit and her dream of retirement. Every year, millions of Americans just like you learn that a little personal information in the wrong hands could wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Jill had LifeLock's protection, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. And LifeLock offers the proactive protection of checking and savings account takeover alerts. LifeLock's comprehensive identity theft protection guards your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
Doesn't matter how old you are or how much money you have. Identity thieves steal from everyone. You have to protect yourself. I protect myself with LifeLock.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one protects you better than LifeLock. And LifeLock stands behind their protection with the power of their $1 million service guarantee. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and try 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. 60 days risk-free. Use promo code ONGUARD. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free.
Call 1-800-966-8458 or go to lifelock.com/onguard to try 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Call 1-800-966-8458 right now.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. 19 years after a massacre in Bosnia, victims are still being uncovered. Over 20,000 people gathered to remember 8,000 men and boys slaughtered on July 11th, 1995. Today, they conducted funerals for the 175 recently identified victims. Victims are still being found in mass graves and identified by DNA. And as rockets go deeper into the city, Hamas intends to fire rockets at the airport. With over 100 dead, Hamas has a new plan. The plan to take out the Ben Gurion airport and halt foreign flights from coming into Israel. Hamas has also threatened to hit the commercial center, Tel Aviv. Appropriations Committee Chairman Hal Rogers says Obama is taking too much money and they won't approve it. The Kentucky Republican believes there are areas that need to be met immediately. But the hefty amount requested is not needed because some of what is requested is already handled by Congress's normal spending. Calls to the Obama administration from the Pentagon requesting more military on the border have been rejected. Obama's $3.7 billion request does not include money for boosting military presence at the border. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
Time to bring you up to speed on what's been said on our sister programs, America's Forum before us and the Steve Mosberg Show coming up after us. America's Forum this morning with J.D. Hayworth. James Zogby, the president of the Arab American Institute. was talking about Hamas, and they may not have started the current conflict in Israel, but they certainly jumped at the opportunity for a number of reasons.
I think that the rocket fire was inexcusable from the beginning. It probably wasn't Hamas that started. I think it was other groups, but Hamas certainly got into it after a time, especially after they saw hundreds of their leaders and cadre in the West Bank being arrested. They responded, but the response was stupid. It was basically picking a fight they couldn't win. But I think, as I've said in the previous time I was on the show with you, Israel was stupid as well, because it's a fight that they can't win. We've done this now 5 times in the last 9 years, and every time it ends up the same way. No winners and a lot of losers, in particular Palestinians who die by the hundreds by the time it's over.
All right, and there are some updates here on this story as well, because as we have been reporting throughout the day, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reportedly said that he is not interested in peace talks at this point in time. Also, there was word earlier today that came out of Turkey, the president of Turkey calling on Israel to halt the offensive on the Gaza Strip, not carry out a ground incursion. The prime minister said there can be no normalizing of Turkish-Israeli ties as long as Israel's actions continue. Quote, I would like to remind Israel that a ground operation would lead to dangerous developments and sow the seeds of hatred. Such an escalation could lead to chaos in our region. There are more dead in the Gaza Strip today. It's a terrible story, but one that we will certainly follow on a regular basis right here on MidPoint and on the Newsmax network. And on the show following us, the Steve Malzberg Show yesterday, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin talking about President Obama's funding request for the border, saying that all it does is incentivize illegal immigrants to try and make it to and stay in the United States.
What I've been trying to do, and we had a hearing in Homeland Security Committee yesterday, I've been trying to put the funding request into perspective. What the president is looking for is $3,700 million to basically attract more people here. And that's always been my problem, is the way you secure the border is you reduce or eliminate the incentives for illegal crossing. When we basically bring people in here, or when people come in here illegally and then we let them stay indefinitely, that's an incentive for them to come. When the Senate passes a comprehensive immigration reform bill, it has $262 billion of welfare benefits for non-U.S. citizens. That's an incentive for people to come.
Reminder right here on Newsmax TV, 9 o'clock Eastern Time until noon, America's Forum with J.D. Hayworth. We're here from noon until 3 o'clock with MidPoint, and then the Steve Malzberg Show from 3 until 6 o'clock Eastern Time. That is every Monday through Friday right here on MidPoint. 1 minute that we have left here, I just want to point this out as well, too, to what was being said there regarding the $3.7 billion that the president is asking for. If you look into it, $1.8 billion is for resettlement costs to be appropriated to the Department of Health and Human Services in order to resettle those that are here. And also the Department of Justice would be given $15 million to hire attorneys to defend the individuals here against deportation in removal proceedings before an immigration judge. So what is happening here, and this is what a lot of people are very upset about in this supplemental budget request of $3.7 billion, is that they claim that there is money here that is not being used in order to send the refugees / illegal aliens back. It is being used to settle them here. That leads credence again to the part of the argument where people say that the plan here all along was to be able to make sure that these individuals could stay and become part of the democratic process. That and a whole lot more as we continue. But right now, here is another American moment.
By mid-1944, German military occupation engulfed the continent of Europe, while across the English Channel, an armada of men and equipment was preparing to take it back. On the 5th of June, Allied armies from the United States, Great Britain, and Canada joined those from Australia, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, France, Greece, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, and the Netherlands, and set sail for the Normandy coast. But they weren't all soldiers. At morning's first light, London Bureau Chief for the future NBC radio network, George Hicks, broadcasting live from the deck of an American ship, provided Americans back home with a front row seat.
Here we go again, another plane's come over. Right over our port side. Raising the thing in and out, right over our bow now.
Supreme Allied Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower also used that same venue, radio, to inspire both his troops and the nations they were being sent to set free.
The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory.
The date was D-Day, June 6th, 1944. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
Those struggling with their weight know that it goes beyond willpower.
I wish I wasn't still hungry.
Is this enough?
It's late, and I'm still hungry.
Weight loss is not just about willpower. While we have different triggers, we face similar challenges.
Am I full?
Do I want more?
Have I had enough?
Maybe it's time to try Belviq. Belviq is FDA approved for weight loss in adults who are overweight with at least one weight-related medical condition or obese. When used with diet and exercise, Belviq can help you lose weight and keep it off. Belviq works by activating receptors in your brain that are believed to cause you to feel full. For some people, this means that they can eat less.
I've had enough.
Being overweight can carry health risks like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or type 2 diabetes. If you are overweight with any of these conditions or obese, Belviq may help you lose weight and keep it off. Do not take Belviq if you're pregnant, planning to be, or nursing. Before taking Belviq, tell your doctor if you take medicines for depression, migraines, mental problems, or a cold, as these medicines with Belviq may cause serious or life-threatening side effects. Call your doctor if you have confusion, sweating, fever, or stiff muscles. Some people taking medicines like Belviq have had heart valve problems. Call your doctor if you have trouble breathing, swelling, dizziness, fatigue, or a regular heartbeat. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery until you know how Belviq affects you. High doses may cause mental problems. Talk to your doctor if you become depressed or have thoughts of suicide. In patients with type 2 diabetes, weight loss may cause low blood sugar. Stop taking Belviq and tell your doctor if you have prolonged erections or your breasts begin to make milk or increase in size. Belviq may decrease blood cell count. Common side effects include headache, dizziness, fatigue, nausea, dry mouth, constipation, back pain, and cough. Belviq may help you lose weight and keep it off. Talk to your doctor about Belviq. To get your 15-day free trial offer, call 800-798-5943 or visit startbelviqnow.com today.
There's a great movie called The Departed, a little violent for kids, but there's a scene in the movie where Mark Wahlberg, they're on a stakeout, and somehow the guy loses the guy that they're tracking, and Wahlberg's all upset and yelling at the guy, and the guy looks up and says, "Well, who are you?" And Wahlberg says, "I'm the guy doing my job. You must be the other guy."
I may never be able to watch that movie again. Anyone who seriously seeks to be a solid news reporter will tell you there's no place you'd rather be than wandering about Washington, D.C. and digging into the stories emanating from there. Oh yeah, there's more than a couple of stories emanating from there, because sometimes it's salacious, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's scandalous, scurrilous, or maybe just plain steady as she goes. Hey, it's a baptism of daily fire for which there's no escape once you're in. I feel like Michael Corleone, trying to get out, but they put me back in. In some cases, you manage to survive. Here's somebody who did. Welcome into MidPoint. 17 years at CNN, 10 years assigned to the Pentagon, now keeping it real around the dial at WMAL Radio in Washington. Pleasure to welcome Chris Plant to the studios here at Newspecs.
Hey, Ed.
Great to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Are you ever going to be able to watch Departed now?
I was never really a big fan of the movie before. Now I'm definitely not a big fan of the movie. It was a long way to go to make a very small point, and a story not well told.
We have a president right now, and we have been covering news, you and I, pretty much along the same line of time, who seems to enjoy bad comedy and the jab more than any other. And it's a way of trying to make a point, but it's a bad way of trying to make a point. It's like comics tell you, don't try comedy. Don't do this. You don't do this for a living.
Yeah,
and he enjoys it.
Well, he spends a lot of time doing sort of snarky late-night comedy jokes, and they're always jabs at Republicans. And the reality is, there are a lot of things that he should be doing as president of the United States. He should stop the bleeding on the border. He should stop this crisis. There are children suffering, not just inside of our own borders, but on trains coming up to the United States from Central America, and there are reports that children are being killed, being run over by trains, being sexually assaulted, women, their mothers, being sexually assaulted. There is an actual humanitarian crisis going on, and the president is shooting pool and holding photo ops and then saying he doesn't want photo ops, and he's using this as never let a crisis go to waste, as Rahm Emanuel said. He's using this crisis to advance his already existing agenda. He wants legislation that stalled in the Senate to get through. This legislation in the Senate would not solve the crisis on the border, certainly not in the short term. The president is allowing this situation to play itself out because he believes it's a political winner for him. And that, quite honestly, is disgraceful. That might be described as reprehensible or despicable even. He could stop this by taking a few quick actions, presidential actions. Remember his pen and his phone. He could stop this overnight.
Disgraceful, but certainly also foolish, because if you think about it, what is out here and what is perception? Perception is 99 and 9/10 reality, which is what we're seeing here. So what is happening is, it is that reality to people right now. It is that you don't care. They can spin it however they want, but I even talk to Democrats right now who say, where is this guy? What happened and what are we doing? They're clueless just as well.
Yeah, well, and they should be. If this were a Republican president, I'd be outraged. I'd be ashamed of him. I think the behavior, regardless of party, is disgraceful. There are children suffering, and they're being used as political tools by the president. The president has a policy they call the Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals, DACA. Naturally, they have to reduce it to a bad acronym, being Washington, D.C. And deferred action against childhood arrivals, big news in Central America. And word got out and is being broadcast on television stations down there, and it's in the newspapers, that the policy in the United States is that if your children come across first, that there will be no action taken against them. That's why this has been dialed up. The situation has not deteriorated over the course of the last year or 3 years in Honduras or other Central American countries to the point where people are fleeing because it's like the civil war in Syria. That's simply not the case. The reality is that this administration, they're falling back and blaming it on this 2008 law, which actually had to do with child sex trafficking and not with children stumbling across our border at all. It was a very specific law, voted in unanimously by the House of Representatives and by the Senate, and signed by George W. Bush in 2008. This wasn't about open borders for children. The deferred action against, but that's what the administration is using as an excuse.
Yes.
DACA is one of the root causes of this, and if the president simply went to the podium at the White House, which he has the ability to do, and stopped doing Jimmy Fallon jokes, and instead said that this is no longer our policy, and chartered a few planes. Senator Ron Johnson was on your air yesterday, pointing out this obvious fact. You could take a few $1 million and load up charter planes. They're flying kids and parents all over the country right now with chartered planes. They could just as easily fly them back to their home countries, and boom, this thing stops. You announce that DACA is no longer the policy of the United States of America, and when the local news in Tegucigalpa shows 2 plane loads of kids being returned, they're going to stop spending $5,000 or $7,000 and putting their kids in grave danger to get them into the United States of America if they know that they're going to be returned overnight. So the president knows how to stop this. I know how to stop this. Certainly he knows how to stop this, but he chooses not to. And instead, he's on the campaign trail for his legislation in the Senate, and he's using the children as human shields, and there are literally children dying, according to the reports, trying to get to the United States, and women being abused, children being abused. Stop the bleeding, then deal with the issues that we have already inside our border. But the president obviously sees this as a political opportunity, and it's inexcusable. And Democrats should recognize this too.
I got a minute left, and no, go ahead. Finish.
I heard this morning that in Texas and the border states, they're projecting that they will run out of beds for children by August. We're expecting this to go on until August. Why not stop it today? Why not take a couple of quick presidential actions and stop the suffering today? And Democrat, Republican, Independent, ask yourself that question. Know that the president could stop it immediately if he chose to, and then ask yourself why he's not taking those obvious, simple steps to stop the bleeding.
I said it yesterday on the air that the president is now like the emperor without any clothes, and we really need to start looking at it. And the funny thing is, you now see Democrats and Republicans who are both seeing it for a change, because when the White House starts admonishing some of its own and going after Democrats and saying, "You'd better be quiet, young man."
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The White House calling up and threatening Democrat members of Congress for speaking up. That's party discipline, but you know, this is not the United States of America that I grew up in, and I would like to think that the President of the United States actually cared about the human aspects of this more than he cared about the political aspects of this, but unfortunately I don't see any evidence that that's the case.
Well played, sir. WMAL Radio in Washington. Pleasure.
Good to see you.
Come on by, stop by anytime. Come on by. Come on down, we'll get you beach towels.
All right, I could use a little more beach time.
No, come on, we can do it here, it's easy. All right, coming up next, we'll preview what's to come on the Friday call, The Steve Malzberg Show. That and a whole lot more as we finish up here on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
Can you really lose weight without changing your lifestyle? LaToya Q did. In fact, in just 5 months, she lost nearly 2 pounds a week without changing the way she dieted or exercised.
I lost 36 pounds and I went down 4 dress sizes.
Like so many people, LaToya didn't want to change her lifestyle to lose weight. Instead, she decided to take America's #1 selling diet pill, Lipozene.
People kept asking me, you have to be exercising. You're really you just don't want to tell us what you're doing. I was like, no, I don't have time to go to a gym. I just took Lipozene and I started seeing results immediately.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. And to prove it, we conducted our very own double-blind clinical study where all we asked people to do was take Lipozene. And by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. These people were not asked to change their diet or exercise, and 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat. Not water, fat.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
And for even faster results, you can try Lipozene with moderate diet and exercise.
Feels great to have a six-pack. I didn't think I would have it at my age.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist and I lost 2 dress sizes, and I feel amazing.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
Lipozene, it works.
But wait. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free. But you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
Call 1-800-509-9436. That's 1-800-509-9436.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Call our toll-free number or visit our website. A free idea kit and DVD will be sent to your home so you can discover all the benefits of owning your own pool. Compared to traditional pools, endless pools are simple to install, easy to maintain, and economical to run. Our precision-engineered pools enable you to swim or exercise against a smooth current that adjusts to any speed and ability. Endless pools are perfect for year-round health and fitness, relaxation, and family fun. Our free idea kit and DVD will show you how easy it is for the whole family to enjoy a pool right in your backyard or home. An endless pool or an endless pool swim spa can become a showplace for your home. Call our toll-free number or visit the website to find out more about endless pools. The free idea kit will show you just how easy it is to be able to swim at home.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Almost time to get out of here for the week. Time to head up to New York City. That's where Steve, and by the way, I was often told in radio and television, never say up, because there is no such thing as saying up in New York or down wherever. It just doesn't happen because there's no up and down. Anyway, so to New York City then, where Steve Malzberg is standing by, and he knows all these rules as well, getting ready for the Steve Malzberg show at 3 o'clock. Steve, so you want to go out and find a bar someplace? Let's have some pool. We'll shoot some pool. We'll have some beers. Take it easy. Get a photo op. Why not?
Why is there no up or down? Depending on where you are located, there certainly is an up or down.
Because it's incorrect. Because as it was explained to me many years ago, when you are on a body of land, there is no up or down because it is up this way, up and down this way. It is not on a map, up or down. It was explained to me that way. Never say you're going up to New York or down to Miami. Never say that. And
well, then obviously you've never walked on the ceiling then.
I never have. I have danced on the ceiling once
well,
before,
there
but that's
you go.
another story altogether.
That's why you feel that way.
We
yes.
don't tell those stories here, Steve. Not on this show. It's a family show, for crying out loud. All right.
There you go. Yes.
So I guess the big
news.
Hey,
by the way,
yes.
is that wait? I see LeBron out in Cleveland.
Hey, come on. As I said, I got one right in 20 years figuring out where I was. I was on one of the TV stations in Cleveland the other night with a good friend, Tony Zarella, on CBS. And he said, okay, you have one word. You have to make a choice. I said Cleveland. It just made all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
So now everybody down here is apoplectic.
Right. I mean, he knows how to make people hate him. I'll tell you that much.
Well, but he also knows how to make money. Look at it this way. He's going to make his money. He's going to make his Nike money, his sneaker money, whatever it is. He'll get more advertisements. He'll get more endorsements. This is just a game with these guys. Look, you and I have been around this for a long time. Politicians play games with people's emotions. Athletes play games. It's all just about the cash and where they want to go. There's no such thing as loyalty anymore. There's no.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of a superstar that big who left Cleveland, where he grew up, or his hometown, the whole thing, for all the reasons he went back to today, to go to Miami, and then wins 2 championships, and then they get to the finals of the third, he loses and he leaves. I mean, and to go back to Cleveland, he's just making everybody hate him the way he made people universally hate him when he promised he'd win 8 championships or 9 championships. I think the guy's got a lot of image problems, and he's going to make his millions and billions anyway, no matter where he plays.
He will, but that's just the whole point. He will make his money. He's going to get it. And look, if you wanted to talk about it from a sports perspective, Miami was nice, but he had a team around him that was getting a little bit older that probably wasn't going to win again. So he decided to go ahead. He'll be the big dog back home. We've seen this before.
Yeah, but big dog is not something he handles too well, and he's already said today, we're not ready to win a championship. It's going to take a lot of time. So he's already set the stage for, don't put the pressure on me, man, because I really am not into that.
All right, I'm going to put the pressure on you. What do you got coming up for a Friday here?
We got Matt Salmon, a Republican Arizona congressman, of course, who introduced a bill yesterday saying we need to change the 2008 law that will now allow us, if we do, to send the illegal kids home. But, of course, Harry Reid said that's not going to happen. We also have Larry Kudlow, who is going to talk about LeBron and a bunch of other things. By the way, my prediction, LeBron James will announce he's a Republican, and he'll be one of the primetime speakers at the Republican National Convention in 2016, and the black vote will go 25% to the Republican candidate. How do you like that?
I'd heard this rumor that you'd hit your head walking into the studio here tonight, and now all of a sudden it's been verified here. I mean, I'm sorry, Steve. I know the concussion will take a while to go away.
He likes his money, man. He likes his money. He's one of the evil 1%. He's probably one of the evil quarter percenters. He might be a Republican. You never know.
No, but come on. If you want to have a bad comedian appear at Cleveland, just go ahead and get the president. Run up his best hits from the last couple of weeks right here. That's all the bad comedy you need. You can go ahead and play that. That'll be great. All right, Steve. Hey, listen, have a good show today, my friend. A great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday.
You too. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Hey, don't forget the Steve Malzberg Show comes up right here. Check the list once again. Make sure you know the schedule here on the Newsmax TV network. 9 o'clock Monday through Friday, America's Forum with J.D. Hayworth. Yours truly here with the entire team at MidPoint at noon. The Steve Malzberg Show begins at 3 o'clock Eastern Time right here on the Newsmax TV network. Rock on, true believers. Thank you so much for joining us. We're back again on Monday, noon Eastern Time, right here on the Newsmax TV network. Enjoy the weekend. Sit back, relax. And for the people in Miami, don't worry, life goes on. This is MidPoint, where every day we question everything. Take care, everybody.